Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Holy Humanist. Today, we are here for round two. Oh, yeah, I forgot I'm in a green screen. Guys, I'm in Mecca today. We're going to do this stream all the way from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Allah's house himself. So what better place to talk about another one of Allah's supposed religions that somebody left behind and has entered the beautiful, wonderful world of science and rationality. And yeah, this side is just brilliant. But okay, without further ado, I want to introduce David Mcdonald from Deep Drinks podcast. Welcome to Holy Humanist, David.
Thank you so much for having me. It's I have to admit I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm only very new to discovering who you were. I think I saw you on Myth Vision, and I was like, wow, this is impressive. I had to immediately get you on Deep Drinks, and I've only been part of your community for about a month, but it's amazing to be here. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
So good. And thank you for being a part of it and coming onto YouTube and doing your bit, because honestly, I think I've saved every one of your videos in my playlist. So I'm either falling asleep
Oh
or
wow.
driving home on the way from work listening to it. Yeah, I really, really enjoy what you're doing. So
Thank you.
everyone, a lot of regulars here. John Stockman is in the house. Hi, John. Okay, it's the weekend, so you're having tea today. All right, fine. Party pooper. I'm kidding. And Shiv, is this live? Yes, Shiv, you finally caught a live after so long. Welcome, Shiv. Grey Jedi, hi. Bernice, hi. Hi, everyone. And okay, before we get started, I want to say David and I have had a conversation on David's channel, and I need you all to subscribe. I wrote in the post of this, if you don't already know about it, David's channel might become your poison of choice, because yeah, I'm definitely hooked. So I'm gonna share. Sorry, I should have done this earlier. I'm gonna share my screen, and I want you all to please go and subscribe to Deep Drinks podcast. There's our chat there. But you can see, like, I love the spirit of this channel, because it's just like deep chats, but still so banterous and lighthearted. But you're discussing like topics from all walks of life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so David, do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Well, it's actually funny. Last night I was supposed to sporadically interview someone from Ukraine who's living in Kiev, who's literally like her father was killed by a Russian missile, and she's like literally lived under siege. And she's like, no, she's like, I'm bringing alcohol. She's like, and I was like, because I was like, you're in a war zone. There's no way you're going to be able to get like a drink. And yeah, and so we had, the electricity was cut off because of the Russians. Thanks, Russians. But it's back to now on to Thursday. So that's going to be a really interesting one, because literally she's in a war zone, and we're going to be drinking her favorite Ukrainian wine.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But yeah, we have like conversations.
My notification's already on. See, I'm not even.
Awesome.
I'm not
you.
even hyping.
There's but yeah, we have conversations. Like, I don't just have conversations with ex religious people. I have religious people on. I have I'm having a Christian philosopher come on soon, and that'll be a really interesting one. We're going to be talking about the problem of evil. So yeah, it's and once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing a charity stream. I don't know what that is going to be yet, but I know that we're going to be raising money for a charity. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh, fabulous. See, it's just good vibes all around. I absolutely love it. But yeah, please go and subscribe and set the notifications, because yeah, you don't want to be missing this content. And there's nothing like
Thank you so
catching
much.
a live stream live.
Yeah.
But yeah, David, what, just in the spirit of your channel, what are you drinking today? Because it is again an ungodly hour for you, so apologies. But hopefully,
no, it's okay. If it's, you might have a different perspective of like who I am, because I'm like, every time we talk, I'm really low energy, but that's only because it's like either 2 a.m. or I think we did your one at like 2 a.m. I think this one is 5 a.m. So today I'm drinking my morning coffee, but in the spirit of your channel, and well, in Deep Drinks, to continue our drinking fiesta, I'm going to have a little bit of Glenmorangie 14-year-old single malt port cask finish whiskey. So I'll have that as well to toast to this lovely occasion. So
yes,
even though it's 5 in the morning and I'm going to work after this, so
Wow, somebody's going to be a bit extra happy at work today. Extra jolly.
Yeah.
I love that. Your coffee looks lush as well, may I add.
It's just instant. It's just a big cup.
It's frothed really well. But yeah,
Yeah.
cheers all the way from Mecca. If you can see that, it's a bit of
Oh,
rosé.
yeah.
It is. Oh.
It's totally acceptable to drink in Australia. Maybe not before work, like I am, but to day drink in Australia, it's totally acceptable.
Yeah. And as I said, bin drinking is here. But actually, having said that, this wine tastes a hell of a lot better in Mecca, I tell you.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'm actually. Am I actually? Do we know what's inside that? I don't know. I don't want to be offensive, but
this
yeah, what is
behind me
what is
called
that? I
Masjid
don't.
al-Haram. Okay, so that's the
Yeah.
entire complex, like with the mosque and stuff. And then that black cube behind me is the Kaaba, which is the actual house of God. That's where the black
Oh,
stone is
okay.
as well. So that's what you circle when you go on Hajj and the mini
Yeah.
Hajj.
So
Yeah.
I'm actually. It looks like I'm just in my office, but I'm actually in one of the back rooms there. So I'm also in Mecca drinking
Yeah,
my whiskey.
exactly. David's about to start circumambulating from there. Can you see that? You're good and white, David, all white. But yeah, so okay, so this is basically a stream for my viewers to get to know you, me to get to know you a bit more, because I just literally know what I've put in the title in terms of your full-on journey, because most of the time you're interviewing other people, and so you're just giving snippets here and there, and I'm like, okay, I want to kind of bring this puzzle together now. So yeah, if you kind of just want to take it from the top and let us know, your background, where you grew up, and then ultimately we'll get to how you ended up here on YouTube. But yeah, however you want to take it.
Yeah. Okay. It's a bit. This is going to be a bit of a different one because it'll sound like I'm giving a Christian testimony, but I assure you at the end, it turns all around. But when I was like a teenager, I was quite depressed. I kind of grew up Christian, but it was like a religiosity of like my family. It wasn't like a huge part of me. In my teenage years, I kind of flirted with the church a little bit, but when I was 16, I got invited to. I moved up to Queensland to be with my dad, and I got invited to some youth group with some girls invited me to some youth group, and I was like, okay, like I might go along. I didn't have much planned for that night except for being depressed and eating Doritos in my room. That was the game plan at 16. So I ended up going along to this youth group, and I had what I can only describe as a tremendous spiritual experience. Now I say that now, but I don't know. I no longer believe in the supernatural or the spiritual realm or anything like that. So, but I can only describe it as subjectively a spiritual encounter. So, the type of youth group I went to was for a Pentecostal youth ministry. So within Christianity, there are different denominations, and Pentecostalism is kind of like American evangelicals are usually Pentecostals. So Pentecostalism, they believe in things like speaking in tongues, laying on of hands, people performing miracles. That's where you see like the Benny Hinns, Kenneth Copelands. They're kind of prosperity preachers, but the Hillsong, Planet Shakers, Bethel Church in America, things like that, and people get have things like what they call being slain in the spirit. So you'll have this overwhelming feeling that'll come over you. You might not be able to talk. It's like a form of hysteria. You might be drunk. You might feel drunk. In fact, after that night, I felt drunk for about 2 days. But it was drunk on the spirit. So this was the church, the kind of church I went to, and to the youth group, and I was sitting at the back, and there was the praise and worship songs at the start, and then the big preach. There's probably about 60 or 70 people in the room, maybe, and they're all youth kids. And at the end, everyone came up the front and they were praying. Like not everyone, but most people were at the front praying, or in the worship music and stuff. And I'm sitting at the back thinking, I don't want to be like, I don't want to start praying. Like I'm not ready to like get that close to God or be that devout or something. And someone asked me, do you want to go up the front for prayer? And I said, nope. And they're like, okay. I looked out the window and I saw one of my friends who used to go to school, and she was outside looking through the window. And I knew if I went outside, I'd have to talk to her, and it would be like a big like, oh, how you doing and stuff. And I just didn't want to be there anymore. So instead of leaving and then getting into an awkward conversation with her, I decided to stay where I was and just pretend I wasn't there. So I was looking down at the floor and just pretending I wasn't there. And then I felt this hand on my back, and I felt someone else's hand on my back, and I felt all these people's hands on my back, and the people from up the front were praying for me, because these girls that invited me to youth group knew I was this like depressed kid. They probably thought I had a demon. And they came back and they all started to pray for me, and they started prophesying over me. These people I didn't even know said, it says, you believe, I know that you believe XYZ, but God wants you to know ABC. I know that you feel like XYZ, but God wants you, and they were just answering these like internal emotional questions. And next thing I know, I'm looking down like a puddle of tears on the ground. I was shaking. I felt this overwhelming feeling of like this overwhelming sensation, this feeling. And I just felt drunk for like 2 days. Like I felt like out of it. And I remember going to school on the Monday. So that was a Friday night. I go to school on the Monday, and someone had told someone else on MSN that I got saved that night. And I still was like not sure what happened. And one of my friends, Chris, he said, "Oh, I talked to Rachel. I heard you became saved on Friday night or whatever." And I said, "No, I didn't." And he went, "Yeah, you did. You went to youth group and stuff." And then I thought about it, and I was like, "Yeah, no, yeah, I did." And as a way to like push back, I like just pushed harder into the Christianity. And then after that, we got invited. I went, like a few weeks later was a youth group. I decided to spend some money and go to the youth group. Not the youth group, sorry, youth camp. It's 5:30 a.m. Sorry about if I mess up my words.
But David, sorry, just right there, you know, when you said that you like to push back, you lent into it more almost.
Mm-hmm.
That you doing that like to not feel that you've not been saved? Is that what's pushing you harder in that?
No, it was that I hadn't really. It's that I hadn't really evaluated what actually happened, and then when someone put it in those words, I initially was like, hang on, that's not what happened, because I already considered myself a Christian, I guess. But I was like, hang on, that's what happened. But I noticed that people were teasing me for becoming a Christian, and then I thought, well, no, if I had this experience and it's real, then therefore I don't care. Like, and then from then on, I started running like Bible studies. Started running Bible studies and stuff at school, and people started calling me Captain Christian. And then I started going, yeah, cool, I'm Captain Christian. And like that became my. I was like, I'm going to claim that. And it wasn't like I was pretty popular at school, so I was just like, but everyone just accepted that there was this weird part of me where I would like be telling people about God, and they're like, oh, here he goes again, like
Bible out. It's time for you to just Bible out on them.
yeah, I literally did. I have a funny story about that. So when I was first a Christian, all the guys were like making fun of me, and this is like, a few weeks in after the youth camp and stuff, and they were telling me that God was gay, and a bunch of other things I won't say here because it's even too offensive for this stream, but they were just saying, and I was like, no, and I was like, and I was bantering with them, right? And I was like, no, God isn't gay, he hates the gays. And I was like, and I opened up this is a joke, but I opened up the New Testament where it says, drunkards will not enter the kingdom of heaven, sexually immoral people will not enter the kingdom of heaven, homosexuals not enter the kingdom of heaven. I was like, see, God doesn't even let them in heaven. And I was like, they're not. And so, but as I'm doing this, so I'm standing on a chair, right, like trying to get everyone's attention at school, like with a Bible in my hand, preaching the words out of it. As I'm doing that, the girls from youth group have come down to check how I'm going, like spiritually, right, to see if I'm, and they just see me with a Bible in my hand just preaching this, like reading out the Bible, and they're all shocked. They turn around and walk away, and they tell the youth pastor, next Sunday at church, I'm sitting in church, and they're like, and he's like, young Dave Mcdonald with a Bible in his hand, preaching the word of God at church. And I'm just like, oh no. And I was like, you didn't know that I was just like I was preaching, but it was like, it wasn't like it was a heartfelt. I was just taking the piss with my friends. Like, but
you were like Moses on Mount Sinai, literally showing people the promised land. That was you.
Yeah. That's so good.
Oh my goodness, what a scene to come down to, though. They must have been like, he really got saved.
Yeah. Uh,
So yeah, so okay, because yeah, some Shakil Zaman's interesting human psychology there as well, because it's interesting how you were already part of it, and then you're like, okay, this whole you've been saved, and it just been kind of pushed as a narrative. You were like, actually, wait, and then you've come to this perfect kind of thing where you said you would sometimes Bible out, but it's not affecting. Like, were you still able to do everything you would do otherwise, and or was it infringed on your life in any way? Like, how much did it play
like
a part in?
when I got saved, it's like when I got saved and was now at church, now Captain Christian. Do you mean that?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, it affected my life hugely. So, this is a bit TMI, but I lost my virginity when I was like 15. So I stopped sleeping with women, or anyone. I don't know why I said women like that, but anyway, I stopped sleeping with people when I was,
So Captain Christian was celibate.
yeah, I was definitely celibate, and I was, I wish I didn't, I wish I, had lost my virginity on my wedding night. At the time. And it's funny enough, my wife and I, because we would later become like, I would later, my faith would develop, and my wife and I, we slept together for the first time on our wedding night. So we were pretty devout Christians. But obviously, Amy, my wife, was a virgin. I wasn't a virgin, but which was, something I kind of regretted. But at the same time, so yeah, so I didn't do that. I didn't drink. I didn't go out with my friends and do things like that. I spent a lot of time at the church. I got involved in helping out with the youth ministry. It even became like I was later in my later years. I got diagnosed with pure O, obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's like where I get obsessive thoughts and stuff, and essentially my faith kind of like I could tell that I was becoming more culturally Christian, I guess, by the way that I started to choose what I considered the righteous path, like almost all the time. So, um, you know, I'd,
Oh no,
I
one
would,
of those.
I would start, yeah, I would start like, I would stop swearing, and then I would stop saying these, other words, and then I would stop saying, offensive words, and then I would pick up rubbish when I walk past, and then I just like started like becoming like Captain Christian. Like it became annoying. Like a lot of my Christian friends say, "Don't go back to that." Like even if they want me to
Everything
be
you've said
Christian now, like don't go back to that.
to be fair, everything you've said is quite like just like a good citizen or good Samaritan
Yeah,
kind of thing
I
so
know.
far. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's not like that bad at the moment. Yeah,
yeah.
it could have got a lot worse, I'm guessing anyway, right?
Mm.
But so is this, yeah, I guess, because you would start policing yourself in everything else you're doing anyway, and then you start that holy and thou attitude. It starts rubbing off onto other people, like
Yeah,
people around you who are just like, oh,
yeah.
please chill out a bit, right?
Yeah, and a huge thing that was always a huge problem that we talk about. I don't know if if you experience this so much in Islam, but we have this really toxic purity culture in Christianity, where essentially the men of the church, we would have these like, how long can we not masturbate clubs, essentially, where we'd all get together and talk about like the problems of lust and how it ruins the soul, and how Ted Bundy used to look at pornography, so therefore you might end up a serial killer if you look at pornography. And then women were told, and this is something I've only learned through doing deep drinks, especially when I interviewed Haley Brooke and Heathen Queen, is they were told a completely different set of purity culture rules. And that was like, it was like, you will make men stumble. If you show too much knee or ankle, you'll make them stumble, and you'll be responsible for them going to hell. So cover up. And they're telling this to like 9-year-olds and stuff. Like this is like,
So
so
is this what they're preaching in the church? Like, where are these?
well, these won't get preached. This won't get preached from the pulpit. This is the like small group kind of chat. This is like,
Okay.
you have little small groups. You talk about these things, and women are told to cover up, and men are told that you're inherently a predator that needs to rein back their urges, which is kind of annoying, because like I'm a big time feminist, right? And I get annoyed that why can't women be predators? Like why can't women be predators as well? Women have sexual urges as well. They want to do stuff. Why can't they also be seen as like lustful objects who check out dudes and things like that? But so yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it completely erodes. Like, I mean, it's the exact same way Islam does, and I've looked into Judaism a bit more recently as well, and I've seen like there apparently there's like writings and writings of the Talmud when they're discussing like women's sexuality and like how lustful, if women become lustful, they would technically lose control of society, and they're obviously then they can only show their real hair to their husbands, and they have to shave it off and wear a wig and all of that kind of stuff. It just runs deep, especially through the Abrahamic faiths for sure.
Yeah.
But David, I actually have heard you mention this in one of your talks, and I was so fascinated. If you're comfortable, could you tell us a little bit about like this almost like masturbating, policing each other, right? Like these, what are
Yeah.
these other teams you have? Like how?
Yeah. Do we? Yeah, we can do that. Do you want me to read the super? Do you want to read the super chat first, or?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stop Scamming Man is a regular. Thank you so much, Stop Scamming Man, and for you to be here. He's saying one can learn a lot from Judaism and Christianity about the evolution towards Islam, the snake later becoming Satan, Gog and Magog, Gog of Magog becoming Gog and Magog, and hell becoming a thing, etc. Yeah, I totally see. Like, it almost forms like a tapestry. The more you look into it, you can definitely see. I didn't know Gog of Magog thing. Like, do you know about that? I just know about your Jewish Islamically.
I know the name. I don't know what it means though. But I do know, like, I recognize the name. But I do. What I find really interesting is as time seems to move forward, like these religious texts, Abrahamic religious texts, tend to get more, I guess,
Horrible.
fair. well, I would say that ancient the Hebrew Bible is pretty disgusting in some spots, right? And then you get to Christianity, that's pretty nice.
Thank God
Islam,
out a bit.
yeah, Islam has some nice things, but it's also disgusting. But it's like kind of anyway. There's I feel like the texts get more civilized, if that makes sense, in a way.
Okay,
Not
yeah.
not in every way, I guess, but like, I mean, you look at the account of Genesis, and it's like in the Hebrew Bible, and it's like day one does this, day two does, and you're like, this is like a children's book, and it's like, no, 650 years old. You're like, no, he wasn't, bro. Like, chill out.
Oh my God.
But you get to like New Testament stuff, and you're like, okay, this is starting to feel more relatable. And then same with the Quran. I found parts of it relatable, even though I don't think it's true. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for me, as you said, like the Old Testament is pretty much like a really vengeful, jealous, weird kind of God. And then Christianity, he like calms down, gets a bit more hippie-ish, a little bit, but there's still some bad aspects in that. Obviously, there's still like slavery and whatever. But when we get to Islam, the God just gets inherently like just there's so much more of a focus on violence and less of the redemption stuff, and more about eternal torture. And it gets, I think, not progressively harder. Well, yeah, actually progressively harder to get to heaven, because in Judaism they didn't even have the concept of hell, right? There was almost a pit where they would chuck dead bodies or whatever, and it stunk, and they'd call it Gehenna. It was an actual reference to a real place that was near them. And then in Islam, we've just stolen that. Not we anymore. The Muslims, the Arabs have stolen that, and they've made it Jahannam, which is literally the Arab version of Gehenna. And then again, in Christianity, there's a lot more about salvation and redemption. And obviously, Jesus has died for your sins. So there's that. But yeah, it's interesting.
Here's the real question. Do you want to go to Christian hell or Islam hell? Which is the worst hell? It'd be interesting to do a stream on that.
Yeah, it would. But David, can you tell us a bit about the Christian hell? I don't really know what it's like. Is it brimstones and that kind of? What
it's just weep. It's just so it's a funny one, because Jesus, as you mentioned, it's the Valley of Gehenna, which is a real place outside of Jerusalem. And every reference to hell, most references are like, you'll be thrown out, and there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And the idea is like, you couldn't come into the new city of Jerusalem. That was the idea. Traditionally, Christians have taken that to be like, oh, okay, so you'll be thrown into the pit, which is like a spiritual pit or something, and there'll be like where the worm doesn't die, and something, but it's essentially like eternal torture. A lot of new Christians now see how disgusting and immoral that is, and they say, well, it's just destruction. I did a on my main channel. So Deep Drinks is like a secondary channel, but my main channel, which I guess Deep Drinks is more important, but my main channel, I did a podcast, Hellcast, I called it, which is like a panel of people talking about hell, how to deconstruct hell, where hell came from. We had some professors on there. It was really good. But one of the things that we mentioned was one of the things I'd said at the start when I was really thinking about hell is I think it would be impossible for anyone who truly understood eternity, and that's the caveat because no one can really understand eternity, to even be able to worship a God who could send even a cockroach to eternal punishment, or could even allow a cockroach to experience eternal punishment. That would just, it would be unfathomable for a human to be able to worship a God that could do that, in my opinion, because it's just, eternity is a long time, and eternal punishment for a finite crime. It's just, it's yeah. So what is hell? Traditionally, fire, brimstone, pain, whether it be weeping and gnashing of teeth. It says a lake of fire it was prepared for the devil's angels or the demons. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's pretty rough. It's
Yeah.
rough, yeah. Wow. Okay, so kind of
interestingly enough, though, the Buddhists have a hell as well, like some sects of Buddhism, but their hell is kind of cool. Like I don't know if I think it's kind of cool. So their hell is a place to burn off the karma. If they can't do it in their millions of lifetimes to burn off the karma, and they just keep being a bad person, they go to hell and it burns off the karma, and then you get released from hell when you've gone through the removal of the karma. And the actual hell is the removal of that karma, the removal of that pleasure, the sin, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, that's, at least there's like a redemption arc there. At least there's like, and then I got better, and then I could, move on to enlightenment, rather than you're just there forever. Like, fuck you. Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah. No, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I did not know about that, because I think well, from my basic understanding, they're trying to attain enlightenment to the point that they don't need to reincarnate over and over into these earthly to get to learn or whatever, understand the true connection to divine, whatever.
I think the Buddha was the first. I don't know if he was the first, but he was the first recorded enlightened one. So when he died, he just was. Well, he didn't die. He just became enlightened, but his body died. But that's the idea that Buddhists are trying to get to enlightenment. So they do things like asceticism, where they remove as much pleasure and things from them. That's why they'll shave their head, wear the robes to. And focus purely on spiritual things to hopefully burn off the karma, and so the next life they're even closer to enlightenment. And you never know if you're right there or if so.
Yeah, they don't even put like things, they really care about like the temperature of like things that was in how they physiologically affect your body, because it will impact like meditation and therefore that your connection. So a lot of them don't eat anything with like onions, garlic. Yeah, I know. It's so sad. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like,
I know.
Long. But
I was just about to say that. I know people who are vegan who don't eat garlic, like an onion, and I'm like, how do you live? Like, the only thing left is oil. What else have you got? Like, it's like garlic, onion, and oil are the things that save a vegan diet. Like, wow.
I know, honestly. So they really try. I mean, obviously ego is a big thing for them. They just try and rid themselves of it, and want and worldly pleasures and sexual desires and everything. But also, David, just to go back to that point about hells again and stuff, it was really interesting for me to see how Christianity, like, this is when you realize how much people make shit up, like whether it's, the Christian clergy or it's Muslim imams or sheikhs. Like, the whole thing with purgatory in Christianity was accepted by so many for so long, as like, that's where babies go. And then all of a sudden, like a couple of years down the line, when the world is getting a bit more woke, they're like, actually, that seems a bit weird for babies to just be like in limbo. No. Let's switch the light record and say they'll go straight to heaven, guys.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Hey, it's like, it's so ridiculous. And another thing, like I mentioned in a recent video, I'm just posting the link to Hellcast if anyone wants to check it out later.
Oh, yeah, please do, guys. It will be so interesting. I'm sure they deep dive into like as we touched on really briefly in our chat, is the reason you can't believe in hell is because if you see everyone's version of hell, it's so localized to their innermost thoughts, their desires, their fantasies, what they struggled with here on earth. It's all reflective in up above. As below, so above, basically. As above, so below. I
don't know if this is a joke or not, but I'm pretty sure it's not, but Professor Bart D. Ehrman talks about the Gospel of Thomas, and in the Gospel of Thomas, which wasn't accepted as the canon, it gives really vivid descriptions of hell. So this wasn't canon, but some of its teachings got pushed into the church, and but essentially liars will be hung up by their tongues, and adulterers will be hung up by other parts in hell. And so like the idea is like
you'll be hung by your tongue, and your mouth will,
Wow, I wonder if that was also influenced by the Gospel of Thomas. That's because that was like 200 AD, CE, sorry.
Maybe, David, because it's like if you've sinned from your hand, if you've sinned from like speaking, if you've sinned by like your limbs will come alive and speak those sins. It's mad.
Yeah, that's crazy, because you think of hell or heaven or whatever as a spiritual realm, but then it's talking about like physical, like body parts and stuff. And it's weird.
Yeah.
Going from hell to masturbation, or the other way around. Yeah, to answer your question before about masturbation clubs, yeah, we had these like essentially like there's like, I mean, I've got a bunch of books back there, but it's like essentially like we had these books that you'd follow, and like you would, all get together, and like you would would read every man's battle and every young man's battle and all these things, and we would try and like deal with the problem of lust. So essentially, like I remember,
is that in these books, like you're reading about men's issues with lust from like and how they've tried to okay.
Yeah, but it's always so there's usually a pretty good. I used to teach from these books when I was a youth pastor, but essentially like it's like you scare everyone about the consequences of sin. So the consequences of sin is death, but also like, hey, Ted Bundy said that all serial killers watch porn. Like that's literally a quote. Or there was this in one of the documentaries. Someone said like, I was a teenager and I was just watching lots of porn, and then one day I discovered I had been turned gay, and like just stuff like that.
Oh my word.
Like, and then like all of us are like, when I was like 16, like I'm like, what? Or like even, and I'm teaching kids like 13 14 about this, and we're all like talking about these things. Kind of creepy now to think about it, but
yeah.
but yeah, women were seen as like cover up, and like they weren't even given like they weren't told that you're a sexual being. It was more just cover up because men will stumble. And I even had friends who, like, I had a friend, I won't say a name, but she wore a bikini to the beach, and then another guy messaged her and said, "Hey, you made me stumble. You can't wear that to the beach." It's like,
wow.
Like, how creepy can you be?
Men have a problem, but the women have to cover up. And
essentially, essentially. But so at the height of our purity culture lust arc, we would have these groups where men's groups where we would go, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to, and when I say men, I mean like teenagers. We're like 18 and under, and we're like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to message each other and say, if you're struggling, and struggling was code for I want to go masturbate, or I'm having lustful thoughts. So you get these messages just from people saying pray, and that essentially meant go pray for me because I'm having lustful thoughts. So it was really interesting. By the end of the week, so like at the start of the week, you're getting like no messages because everyone's like recharged, I guess you could say. But then by the end of the week, everyone's like pray, 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 pray. Like everyone's just texting all the time, and it's just like, oh, and then like I'll be like hanging out, and then one of my friends will be like, you just walk outside, and you're like, what's he doing? Oh, he's going to go pray because old mate, has texted him and said that he needs, like, his accountability partner has like asked him to pray because he's feeling lustful or whatever, and like it was just crazy. And then it's also self-perpetuating, right? Because then you get these like horny teenagers who, like these horny dudes who haven't masturbated for like a week, and they come to church on a Sunday and they see like the church cafe lady, and she's got like 1 centimeter of cleavage showing, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna explode, and they're like, like it becomes, and then the women are like, cover up, we're trying our best here. And it's just like, geez, like I love what Heathen Queen said though. She said not honoring the needs of your body. And that really spoke to me. I was like, and I was like, because like, sure, sex addiction can become a problem. Pornography addiction, probably a little bit maybe as well, or at least you can not. I won't say addiction. I'll say habits. You can create bad habits around that. But just don't just if you want to masturbate, go have a little bit of fun. Clean up, get on with your day. Like, it's all good. Like, you don't have to, like, the world's not ending. Women can masturbate too. Women can enjoy these things. Like, it's not like it's this really weird, like, there's misogyny even rooted into that as well, because it's like women were seen just like, oh, well, what would you be lusting over a guy for?
We don't have needs, David.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. We don't look at a man and think, oh my God, I want him, or like, oh my God, we don't. Apparently, we just don't have those thoughts.
No.
We're just there to like lie back and let you guys have all the fun and have children with you. That's it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I always make the joke publicly. I'm like, I always say like, so I thought like, I always say like, oh, Amy just like lies back and grits her teeth. Like, I thought that's what making love was. And then everyone's like, I'm like, I'm just kidding. That's not the real. Obviously, I put a lot of effort into sharing intimacy with my wife. But
no, but David, it's so sad because most people who would like follow Islam to a letter or whatever, that is what it is. I mean, you know what, like, I don't want to get dark on this stream, but so many women that I, deal with who have been through domestic violence on a daily basis have effectively been being maritally raped every night, but they don't even know it. They don't, like, you have to ask them certain questions and then you realize, oh shit. And, they just say it straight up. Like, I just went with it. And that part I was forced to do, and that part I didn't like, and that part hurt. And they just take it. And then they get, again, it's so dark in Islam, but you get like, these men would start saying, like, telling them it's their fault because they can't give birth to a boy and their body's messed up and they're not born right. Like, this kind of level of, it's really, really grim. But
there's something to say about how brain dead some of these like ideas are. Like, they really are. Like, sorry, I'm just opening my window.
sure.
Some of these like concepts in religion, that people are so brain dead. Like, as if the woman has a choice in what sex the baby is. Like, it's like they have this concept like, well, Allah's plan is perfect. He wants me to have a boy. So what's the problem here? Must be the lady. Like, it's just so stupid. Like,
exactly.
Like, we're in the 21st century. Like, we're in 2022. Like, grow up. Like, there is no Satan. There is no like Illuminati controlling the world. Like, just chill the fuck. I don't know. Sorry, I get a bit triggered by all this. Like, because
I get you. It's almost an
grow up.
Henry VIII was like thinking that this was, the fault of his wives, and like, okay, fine, but we've moved on since then. Like, Islam, it's embedded like this preference, and how women are just such like second class citizens. But just before we continue, stop scamming, man. Thank you again for that super chat. I am gonna go and look into who Gog of Magog was, because I find it interesting how Gog of Magog has transformed into Gog and Magog, if that's what's happened here. So I'm definitely going to follow that line of inquiry for sure. Thank you. And Shiv, I know you've had to leave now. I know it's a crazy time in America as well, but thank you so much for the super chat. And I hope you'll watch this later and you will hear the shout out. And Bernice, thank you so much for your super chat as well. I hope you guys are all enjoying this so far. And we were right back at David having just become Captain Christian. Well, also Captain David did have a question as well on this masturbating thing. You are horny, therefore your buddy needs to pray for you, and that's going to somehow fix the situation.
Yeah, you'd pray for yourself, but we believed you'd pray as well, and you'd push into God, whatever that meant. Like, pray, read the Bible, listen to worship music. But you would also, we believed in intercessory prayer, so people could pray on behalf of you, or you could speak in tongues and have the Holy Spirit pray for you, and that would also help, because we also saw it as like a spiritual thing. So there were like demons literally.
Would that really do anything for you in that state of mind, in that state of like, sexual frustration where you need to get rid of that?
Well, no, I don't. Well, yeah, no, I think sometimes it would, but it was like quiet. It's like you're sitting on this is a good example, and I just thought of it then. Like, it's like you're sitting on the couch watching a movie, eating cookies, and you want to get another cookie, but you're like, oh, I better not have another cookie. And to stop your desire for eating a cookie, you go for like a 40-minute jog. it's like, well, yeah, after a 40-minute jog, you're not going to want to eat the cookie, but like you're kind of like removing yourself from that whole brain state of like so yeah. And I mean,
like
I mean, not
that
to get,
thought entirely and suppressing it, so it's still suppressed at the end of the day.
yeah. Yeah, and not to get too TMI, but like I'm a passionate man. I love my intimacy with my wife. I love masturbating. It's fun. I love it. It's great,
Yeah.
right? And so when I was do this, like I remember one time I like actually got like intense like groin pain because like essentially like blue balls. I essentially got that because like of what I was essentially putting my body through, like such a shift in so,
Yeah.
so like it was causing like actual medical like physical things. So
Whoa.
yeah, it's funny. It's just funny to look back at the things we do when we believe something is true. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's crazy because I'm just really trying to get into like different states of mind here and like that because that's not natural. I mean, even I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Zakir Naik, this medical doctor of Islam, but I mean, for so long in Islam, this is exactly the same, perceived in the same way. But he has now come out and said, guys, it's all right, just masturbate because it's better than like, you know, what that frustration leads to. And we see that play out in so many of these societies when men can't, like, men are harassing, sexually touching up women in full head to toe abaya. Like, it happens here, right where I'm sitting in Mecca, where you're fully covered, your bum is pinched as you walk around there, you're groped, you're touched, everything. And you can't even stop and look behind because you'll be crushed. Like, it's crazy.
Have you had that experience firsthand, or is that the stories that you've heard?
No, unfortunately, and it makes me sick to say it, but like I lived in Saudi Arabia, so we'd go quite often, and it was second nature to me. And being in that state of mind, being that young girl, being fully covered, being there in such a spiritual setting, I could never tell my mother or father. I just kind of like in your head, you keep saying, no, that man was just trying to move past. It's just the amount of people here. He didn't mean to do with that touch, not that kind of touch. But there was one too many instances where you're like, no, this is a problem. And yeah, you just kind of like,
where if he just masturbated that morning, he probably wouldn't have had those like such strong urges. He would have got on with his day and went to do his prayer. I know it's
a woman to that. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, but yeah, like the other side of it too is, and I mentioned this before, but like women are just not seen as like sexual creatures, and it was really frustrating for me to learn, like when talking to women on Deep Drinks and talking to my wife and friends, and now that we've become adults and everyone can talk about these things comfortably, it's just so weird that women were not seen as these like I can't imagine what it was like for a lot of ladies who may have been growing up and they may have been feeling guilty about masturbating or something, but not having anyone to talk to because they're not, that's not what women do, kind of thing. And it's like, well, they do that, but it's just no one's talking about it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
honestly.
This has been a very heavy masturbation.
We've gone very sexual. Okay, David, back to Captain Christian. Where are we?
Okay. So, geez, we're even getting a bunch of like sexual spam now. So.
Oh God, yeah. Look, as soon as you mention anything, they just come flocking. Yeah. Okay, I think my mods, I've blocked them anyway. But mods, I'm sure you've got that under control. But yeah. Captain America.
So back to so everyone who didn't want to hear the sex talk, this is where the timestamp is returned back. But so where were we at?
Captain Christian.
Yeah, so I was Captain Christian. Yeah, I eventually like got involved in youth ministry, and I eventually decided to do ministry college. So that involved like going to classes like a few days a week, and training to be a youth pastor. And that's what I did. It was a year. I got a certificate in Christian ministries. So
what are you studying there, David? Sorry, I know this is a quick thing for you, but what does this entail? Like, what are you having to learn or pass or study?
So it was the first time my church was running it, and it was through a different campus. So it was like a university. It was like a TAFE kind of course, I guess, or community college kind of course, but done through like my church. So my youth pastor was the teacher. He studied to be the teacher, and everything. So there was probably like 10 of us in the class, and everyone had different electives. Would come there every day and would pray for half an hour. That was the start of every day. That wasn't part of the curriculum. That's just what my youth pastor wanted us to do. we'd pray for every day, and then we would go through like, you know, biblical introductions, the Old Testament, New Testament. We'd talk about pastoral care, you know, and would have a bunch of subjects. We have to do assignments, things like that. And then my electoral stuff was youth pastors. So I started to preach more in the youth ministry. I started to, you know, spend Fridays setting up the youth ministry. We had skate ramps, and we had, you know, a bunch of like, you know, we had jumping castles almost every week. We ended up getting like, when I took over the youth ministry after ministry college, we had, you know, sometimes we had 110 people come on a Friday night. So I remember once this parent dropped off their kid, and I'm this like 19-year-old like teeny bopper myself, and like she's like, who are the parents here? There's 100 kids, and she's dropping off her like 11-year-old, and she's like, who are the parents? And I'm like, oh no, it's me. Like, it's just me and a couple of leaders who are younger than me. And she's just like, she felt so not cool about leaving, but because I guess because the way the hierarchy in the youth ministry worked, you'd have like my leaders, and they'd have a sphere of influence under their like emerging leaders, and they'd have a sphere of influence under their friends. And so everyone was quite well behaved. So there's never any like problems. And so after ministry college, I finished that, and the youth pastor felt called by God to go start a senior pastorate church in Sydney, or near Sydney, Central Coast. And they were looking for a new youth pastor. I was hired by the senior pastor, but given under the care of the associate pastor. The associate pastor thought I was too young. He was probably right. And then he did everything within his power to kind of weasel me out of that position. And he did for only about 6 months or a year. So yeah, that was my journey into becoming a youth pastor. And also, I was just going to say too, just I need to really reiterate, like, if you go to this church on a Sunday, you're not going to see like people speaking in tongues or prophesying or whatever. But in the small groups, you definitely will see some stuff like that. We had small groups where one of the guys broke his neck, like he was in his 50s, broke his neck wakeboarding on Noosa River, and he was in a neck cast, and they cut off his neck cast in the prayer meeting and grabbed their knuckles and dug them into the broken part of his neck to prove that it was healed, because they prayed for him and they're like, it must be healed. They cut it off, and yeah, he had no pain, and it was fine for, he was healed until 2 days later. He had to go back to emergency with an even more broken neck.
Yeah,
and everyone was trying to work out. Everyone was trying to work out, like, what was, like, I'm thinking, like, was there like sin in his life? Like, why did it come back? Like, so yeah, everyone, you know, or, you know, you hear
no,
stories.
because it was not medically treated in the first place in the appropriate manner. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Wow. Well, the neck cast was just to keep it steady. So I think once you took it off, you know, he could easily break it again, damage it again. Yeah. So yeah, it was, and of course, when you cut someone's neck cast off, and you know, the adrenaline and the feelings that you feel in that kind of hypnotic prayer, drunk on the spirit state, you're not feeling anything. So, I mean, digging the knuckles into a broken neck, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, it's mad when you look back at it, because it really is like the power of the mind. It's as opposed to anything that you think at the time. It's just in that state you attribute those feelings to that. Like I've had a dream where I saw, in a really tough time, where I saw Prophet Muhammad, and like that's ridiculous to me now. But and again, I saw him exactly according to the Quran, like just light, which is he's called like the light of God. So it's like Noor-e Khuda in Urdu or whatever. But he's basically, that's the concept. And so therefore I didn't see any physical features, exactly how I was imagining him anyway.
Well,
but it's like, yeah.
Hang on a sec. Hang on. I need to, because this is great, because whenever a Christian comes to me and tells me they had a dream or they saw Jesus and stuff, I can now go, well, I have a Muslim friend who saw Muhammad. And, you know, that's like so you did this vision at the time, did this vision of Muhammad help you in any way?
Oh my God, yeah. I woke up being like, whoa, my heart is light. Like he's fixed my heart. Like I can carry on with my life now. I was really showing, but he came and his presence cured that. Yeah, probably really similar to what the Holy Spirit thing feels like. But again, like even my mum, for example, I know her, like she's a woman, obviously not as physically strong as a man. She has, with her mind, by going on some like NLP, which is neuro-linguistic practitioner.
Oh, I know NLP. Yeah.
She has literally like smashed a wooden board in half with her hand. She's walked across charcoal and not had her feet burned. And like, to me, that's wild. But she's like, no, you just like, there's drums going, you rile yourself up, you tell yourself nothing's gonna happen, and you just do it. And I was like, yeah, but what about the actual reaction, the burn? And she's like, your mind just walks through, and like, you're in that state, it comes out unscathed. And I was like, just the mind is mad. And then you take
That is
psychedelics,
crazy.
we can replicate this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
My
okay,
wife and I are doing a calm birth course, and they're talking all about that, and they're all like, the mind, and like people can have orgasmic births because it's the same chemicals, and you can have a painless birth, and you're like, wow, that's like, it's really interesting.
yeah, the mind is so malleable. Like, it's honestly this thing that we can just with an experience alter the states. But yeah, super awesome films. I think you've also left as well now, but I wanted to say thank you so much for the super chat. If you watched this back, then I definitely did want to acknowledge it. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. And
super awesome film said Jesus is Muslim. That seems to be a thing that I see all the time as like a provocative things that Muslims say on TikTok to try and get Christians to argue with them. Is that like why is that like, that's just so, it's like such a typical thing that I see everywhere. Or like it's like the Christian Jesus loves you. It's like,
yeah,
Jesus, like Muslims will say Jesus is a Muslim because it gets people so angry.
It really does. And then yeah, because I just came from a channel where it was Muslims and Christians, and they were bickering about this very thing. And I was like, one of them was like, well, obviously the Muslim was saying that Jesus was never crucified, and the Christians are like, how are you going to deny when people said they actually witnessed? And one of somebody around him said, I'm not going to believe until I touch his actual rib or something, and then he touched it, and that's in the script. How can you deny that?
Wow.
David, so basically, once you got removed then from this position, is this life moment kind of in any way, does it lead itself to where you are now? As in, if you had stayed in that position, do you think your life would have been very different and you would have continued that? Like, was that a good thing in hindsight? What happened?
Probably. It was heartbreaking to lose that role, because like during the like leadership retreats that we would go on as a church staff, which was only like 5 or 6 of us, I would take my Bible, this very Bible, I would take this Bible down, and I would go into the basement, and I would pray for long amounts of time, and I would pray that God would give me a vision for the youth group. And I felt like God gave me a really strong vision for the youth group, and like I felt like God was calling us to save Australia. That was like the message: save Australia from damnation or whatever, save Australia from their sins, save Australia from their pain, from their, and all of that. And I had this like clear vision. I wrote down all these like things, and when I got taken out of that position, the people that came in after me, they ended up having a similar thought process. And I realized at the time, I thought, wow, like I must have missed the boat. Like I must have stuffed up somewhere. Maybe it was too much masturbating. Maybe it was whatever. Like maybe whatever it was, I must have stuffed up somewhere. And then now God's given His favor to someone else to do this. So it was quite hard. I got depressed. I started living in this house. I was living in this house where, no one was really Christian. I found myself doing like sneaking my friends alcohol and drinking that before bed. And this is the first time I've drunk for years, since I was a teenager. I'd done all my drinking before I was 16. So yeah, so like I'm like 20 now, I'm drinking, and like life was just unraveling for me. One of the people I live with introduced me to weed, smoked a lot of weed, loved weed for a good few months. I can't smoke it now, I get too paranoid, but I loved it at the time. I thought it was great. And I would just, I started smoking, and I just like my kind of life just spiraled downhill. I just felt like such a failure, and I just felt disconnected from God and things like that. But I moved down to Sydney. I got involved in a youth ministry, and then Amy and I started writing each other letters, and then we started becoming like, we went from friends to kind of like loving each other a little bit. Like,
you wrote letters? That melts my heart.
yeah.
Who does that nowadays? That is so beautiful.
I know, we're sweet.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you
So,
forget
and
that,
Amy,
I write a letter. You guys are doing that's adorable.
and Amy would spray it with her little her like perfume, and I would spray mine with like just deodorant,
This is
and
modern
sex.
day notebook. I love
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, and I decided to leave film school in Sydney, move back up to Queensland, and get my life back on track, and I did. And it took a while, but I started going to church again. We started getting involved, and that's when my anxiety like really like came up. Like that's when I started having panic attacks, started seeing a psychologist and everything like that. And there was a few moments for me, but that really like changed my perspective on the world. One of them, Amy and David, that's cute.
It's a love story. Yeah.
Yeah, I love her to death, my beautiful wife. But so what was happening is I was at my dad's workshop, and I was like making Amy this like jewelry box, right? And I felt I had like a hardened heart towards God. I felt like I had this like feeling, right? So this uncomfortable feeling. So I was making this jewelry box, and I was like, for a birthday, and I was like, doing the engraving and cutting the pieces of wood, and I was listening to worship music, and I felt this is a time to get closer to God. Like I felt like I'm going to open myself back up to God. I'm going to open that hurt heart to God again, right? So I decided, you know what, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to start praying and listen to the worship music. So I was listening to the worship music and I started praying. As soon as I did that, this thunderous voice / thought, it wasn't like an audible voice, came into me that said, break up with Amy. And I panicked and I stopped and I was like, whoa. And I was like, what was that? And then I had this feeling like, oh no, I've got to break up with Amy. This is going to crush her. This is going to make her feel horrible. I ended up having a panic attack. I ended up vomiting from like this panic attack feeling, because I really felt this was God telling me to do this. And I said, look, so I said to myself, look, I'm going to go talk to people about this. And I went and spoke to church counselors, pastors, the worship leader of the church. I went and saw, all these people, and they all said, that doesn't sound like God. This is really weird. Like, this doesn't seem, God brings people together. He doesn't separate them apart. And I had a lot of anxiety around this. My parents said, like, my anxiety was just getting worse and worse and worse as I was trying to deal with these feelings. And my girlfriend, Amy, at the time was just so loving and caring. And I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. I go to a psychologist, and the psychologist listens to me the first time. He's writing down notes. I'm like, this guy is just useless. Like, because I didn't believe in secular therapy, right? But my parents begged me to go. And I was like, no, I've gone to prayer stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I go for the second time, and I'm like, okay, the second time is going to be interesting. It's not going to be interesting. It's just going to be the same. And he says to me, okay, so he asked me the first time, the next time I have a panic attack, to tell me my thought at the top of that panic attack. Like, what's the thought that's there? And it was, God wants me to break up with Amy. And then in this psychologist office, he said, I want you to repeat out loud, God wants me to break up with Amy. And I said, no. I said, I can't say that out loud. And I said, because, the power of words have the power of life and death. That's what the Bible says. And he goes, and I said, no, you're going to repeat it. And I said, no, honestly, like, I was like, what if I like run past you, or like push past you, run outside, call her and break up with her because like I just have this feeling. And he's like, no, you're just going to say it. And I argued with him for like a few minutes. And he said, you're just going to say out loud, God wants me to break up with Amy. Or what if God wants me to break up with Amy? And I said, okay, fine. So I sat there and I said, what if God wants me to break up with Amy? And my anxiety went up. And then he said, say it again. And I said, what if God wants me to break up with Amy? Again, what if God wants to break up with Amy? And I just kept going up and up and up and up and up until I'm having a panic attack. And I'm telling him, like, I'm having a panic attack now. He's like, say it again. And I'm like, what if God wants to break up with Amy? And he's like, say it again. And now I'm looking around the room for like a bin to vomit in, because my panic attack was so overwhelming that, because I was so scared of hurting Amy, I was so scared of like ruining everything. I'm looking for like a bin to vomit in. And he's like, say it again. And I'm like, I'm going to vomit. He's like, vomit then, say it again. And I'm like, and I'm just saying it over and over again. And then eventually it was literally like a light switch. It was like, what if God wants to break up Amy? And then he's like, say it again. And I was like, what if? And then all of a sudden, like, I was like, what the fuck? And it was like, why did I think that? And like the power of it was just broken. Like all of it was just gone. And he's like, say it again. And I was like, what if God wants me to break up with Amy? He's like, say it again. I'm like, what if God wants me to break up with Amy? He's like, say it again. And I was like, what is happening? And I was like, and I was like, I can't, why am I even here? This is such a stupid thought. Why did I think this was real? This wasn't from God, obviously. Like this, and to me, it was incredible because the voice of God turned out to be an OCD tick. Turned out that I had a form of obsessive compulsive disorder. And I thought that I was hearing the voice of God, and it was just OCD. And then I thought, what else am I ever been hearing from God that is not actually God? And that was the start, I think, if I look back.
Wow, that is so interesting. And David, like I mean, it's so intense the way that like the therapist took you through that, to like the amount of repetition and like the build up and then your anxiety building up. Like I feel like we were all on this roller coaster with you. And I'm like, that is a very intense build up and then an intense realization as well. Like I mean, I cannot, like you've just said it now as like the closing remark of this little segment, but I'm like, to know that that was OCD, that was an obsessive neurology, that thought was just springing up, and like, and all this time I've been attributing it to God. So what else has it, all this time, how has it manifested itself, and what have I gone on thinking is God? But then everything else was like, well, then where's God's voice? And has it been muted this whole time? Was that overpowering God's voice, or have I ever really heard God's? Is this segue? Does this kind of creep in next, or do you go somewhere else in life? You tell us.
Yeah, well, it's so that's how it all started. And to be clear too, like if I was ever a Christian again, I kind of like the idea that Michael Jones puts out, and that is inspiring philosophy. He's going to be on the channel talking about the problem of evil, but he says he doesn't like those churches where you hear from God. He said because you're either hearing with something that aligns with the Bible, in which case you don't need to hear from God, or you're hearing first about something that doesn't align with the Bible, in which case it's not from God. So he's like, you just need the Bible. You don't need to hear. And I was like, okay. I was like, I like that because it stops people from being so nuts. But then again, there's a million interpretations with the Bible, so there's another problems with it. But yeah, so from there, my wife and I got engaged. We got married. We had communion at our wedding. We were super we're Christian. But the mantra in my life at the time was balance. I wanted like good balance. I wanted to be responsible. I wanted to have like a job, like a full-time job. I wanted to like not focus. I wanted to be, there's like an old saying in church, like too heavenly minded for any earthly good. I didn't want to be that anymore. I wanted to live in the world in a way that I could still, like I wanted to be a Christian and I wanted to have my faith, but I wanted to be able to not be so extreme, not be that extreme Captain Christian anymore. Because I just saw where it led me last time, and it was too emotionally draining and crazy. So yeah, that's what happened. But then what happened is I started getting interested in science. I don't know if it was because I watched The Big Bang Theory over and over again. I know most people hate that show, but I love it. Like I don't know why.
Oh my God, it's on 24/7 here. Every single day, it's just on loop.
Yeah. And that's what, like, there was something about it for me that was like, friends getting together, having like eating food, having like intellectual conversation.
They would always make me want a noodle box, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, it was these things that that caused me to, I was like, wow, I love this vibe. So I used to have it on all the time when I was cooking dinner and stuff. And so yeah, this was so I got interested in science. I started like looking into like creationism versus evolution. My wife bought tickets to go see a science and faith talk in Brisbane. And we went down there to see it, and it was amazing. So it was the World Science Festival, and on stage they had a Buddhist, a Catholic, a Christian, a Muslim, maybe a Jew or Hindu or some other religious leader, and an atheist, right? And they were all talking about faith and science. It sounds like the start of a funny joke, but it wasn't. But it was really interesting in that I was watching it really intently, and and I was really like I realized that I needed to be intellectually honest, and that's why I love your mantra of your show, by the way. Is just I try to be as intellectually honest as I could, and I was trying to analyze like who has the most rational thought process. The Christian says there is no problem with faith and science. I can have my faith and then do my scientific experiments. The Buddhist says I don't have any problem with faith and science. The Muslim says no. In fact, my faith helps me with my science. And then the Catholic says faith. And I'm looking at them like they all have different perspectives of the world with their faith. And I was like, okay, so that's quite interesting. At the end, the atheist speaks, and the atheist was A.C. Grayling, and he said he's an English philosopher, and he said, I now know that I've been brought here just to disagree with everyone. And everyone kind of laughed. And he said, I don't think faith can connect with science. I don't think they can work together, because he says, I think faith is the antithesis to science. Faith starts with an assumption that you just believe. Science does everything it can to remove as much bias as much as possible. It tries to disprove ideas, where faith tries to protect ideas.
Science tries to prove itself. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. I was like, okay, that he in a nutshell, he talked about the scientific method, and I was like, okay, I agree with that. That seems like the most intellectually honest thing to do. So I afterwards, there was a book signing. He was the only one famous enough to have a book signing, so he's there. I see this book called The God Problem. It's up there somewhere, but he said, he goes, I decided to get this book. My wife Amy goes to the bathroom, and I'm like, I'm waiting in line to get this book signed, and he comes along, and Amy comes along, and I'm there, and I hand him the book, and he's just signing, like keeps people are coming through, and I said to him, hey, I was a Christian youth pastor. I'm now evaluating my beliefs, because I believe it's more important to be more intellectually honest than it is to just believe what I believe. And he stopped, and he looked up at me, and he just said, how are you doing? And I said, oh, well, and he goes, emotionally, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, okay. And we ended up having this like short conversation, and he goes, and I said, well, it's hard. I have ups and downs. And then he was just listening to me really intently. And then he said, do you, he said, I take my hat off to you. Not many people can do it. And I was like, and I'm just blown away, because A.C. Grayling, he's like, he wrote the history of philosophy. Like he's a badass. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And so I didn't know what to say at the end. So I said to him, I said, okay, well, I said, well, thank you so much. I'll read your book, and I'll email you and let you know what I thought of it. And he said, okay. And I was like, and then he opened up his book, wrote his personal email, which is like at some like Big Pond or Yahoo, like some like it's an old email. Like you can tell it was like back from like the internet was first started. Wrote it in, and he goes, here you go. And he goes, here you go. And I was in silent, and I was like, I was blown away. I was like, how is this like, person so friendly? And we got a photo with him. It's crazy. He looks like Doc Brown. I should have brought it. It's a funny photo.
Yeah, that was
like
Doc Brown.
Amy and I are so happy. But anyway, we walk out of there, and as we're walking down the stairs, Amy says to me, I think what you're doing is good. And those words, like, it's like she realized the gravity of the issue, that like, because before then she didn't really understand why I cared, right? About any of this, like, because she's like, okay, there is a God, there isn't a God, there, what's the best method for understanding the universe? And she said, yeah, I think what you're doing is good. And then at that moment we sat down and we talked about, like, what if our faith is wrong? What if we don't believe what we believe? What if another religion is correct? What if, like, how do we determine that? What's the epistemological foundation in which we view the world? How do we know that the Mormons aren't right, or the Muslims aren't right? Have we looked at these texts? Have we tested their faiths? Have we analyzed it? Is faith even a justifiable pathway to truth? How do we determine what is true? How do we determine what isn't true? And we sat there and we spoke about it all, and we came to the realization in that conversation, like, we didn't have an answer. Like, Christianity just didn't seem like it. And you know, I'd have these tremendous spiritual experiences. I'd speak in tongues. I would, you know, pray for people, lay on of hands. But then if someone asked me at that time if that was evidence for another religion, or like you had a dream of Muhammad, is that evidence of Islam? I would say no. So then I can't use it as evidence for my faith, right? Because then I'm just being dishonest. And my driving force was intellectual honesty. Like, I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how painful it is. There's that quote, which is paraphrased in Into the Wild, which is like the movie Into the Wild, which is like, instead of comfort, happiness, love, give me truth. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, it's like, that's what I long for. You know, some people, you know, if you had 1 week to live, and the doctor could either tell you you're fine, go have a great week, you're going on vacation, like have a great week, you're all good, you're or there are people who, there's that doctor, or there's a doctor that says you've got a week to live. I knew, and I think both are fine. You've only got a week to live, like just enjoy that last week. But for me, I decided no matter how painful it is, I want that second doctor that says you've got a week to live, like panic. Don't worry.
Even technically, if you only have that 1 week to live, if you don't not have that 1 week, if you don't know that you only have that 1 week to live, you're going to live that same normal life you always would. If you knew
Yeah.
you've got a week to live, you're going to go ham. You're going to
Yeah.
like live it up. You're going to do everything on your bucket list or whatever.
Yeah.
I would much rather that. Exactly. No, I get you. But yeah, I mean,
It's like,
I was going to say, I'm sure most people would, but no, we know how many religious people are out there. So no.
it's like living with reality on reality's terms. And this is also something that,
I love that.
you know, I've found a deep appreciation for religion, even Islam. I know that you'll disagree there, but I've found a deep appreciation for religion, but not because I think it's true. I don't think it's true. I just think it's like humanity's first attempt at trying to understand the cosmos and like catalog society, create rules and instructions. It's interesting. It's barbaric in a lot of places. It's beautiful in others, but it's not true. Like, it's like the same way, like the same way Lord of the Rings isn't true. Lord of the Rings has a lot of good moral ideas and stuff like that. It's obviously a fantasy story, but it's not true. And I'm not saying that the Quran or the Bible doesn't have historical events. They do, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, any religion, right, is a great source of just knowledge in terms of like that area and that geopolitical landscape and what was happening and all of that. And yeah, Islam is just a complete mishmash. I mean, from Judaism, paganism, Zoroastrianism, Gnostic Christianity, it's taken it from everywhere and kind of lumped it in. It's so confusing.
But that's what's like, so if you view Islam as like, it's true, but then it has all this other stuff, it's like, well, obviously that's bullshit. Like, obviously, no, like Islam isn't the one true religion or whatever. Like,
it's supposed to be.
Like, yeah, I know, duh. But if you go, okay, but if you accept that Islam is just another religion, it's not true. There's no truth value to it. You can't point to truth anywhere in it. Like, if you accept that, it actually becomes beautiful. You're like, oh, look, I can see where they've taken the paganism from here, and I can see where they've taken the Zoroastrianism from here, and I can see where they've taken. I can see how these ideas have developed. It's interesting to look back as like a lens into the past, but it's not true. Like, it's only when you think it's true that it becomes disgusting and evil. But when you don't think it's true, you're like, wow, there's some horrible shit that happened in the past. Wow, this is how we used to think about women. Wow, this is how we used to think about slavery.
Like, still do it, Islam.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And that's it. People who still think it's true, that's the problem. If they didn't think it was true, would have no problem. Like, Islam would be a fine religion. All the religions would be fine if no one thought the religious text was true. Or maybe not, but maybe, like, I don't know. I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but yeah.
No, that's fine. Like, we get that sometimes. Like, overarchingly, yes. And you know this, we've got Muhammad, the actual cult leader, in the house. He's been commenting on a lot of my videos and saying, "Oh, I can't believe how much of like a prick I was." And I'm like, "Yeah, you were." And he's here to say, and just come back from the grave and say, "I primarily use fear to control people." We know, Muhammad. We know. The only logical conclusion of Pascal's wager is to worship the most sadistic god a nation can come up with. I know, your imagination, Muhammad, your literal best friend, alter ego, whoever he was, sick as hell. But
That's
No, Mohammed,
true.
thank you for being here. I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're able to take criticism now. That's all we ever wanted from you. I know you were a proto-fascist, mate. You were, oh, gosh. But I don't want to.
Your chat is so fun, by the way. Like like these guys. I'm watching some of the comments. Like everyone, your chat is awesome. If I see any of you guys, I probably won't recognize the name, but if I see anyone over in Deep Drinks, I'll make sure to shout you out because this is you guys are all fun. I love it.
Please do. Yeah, no. I literally, everyone who comes on here says that. So I'm like, oh, who are these? Like these, I don't know. I'm so proud of my regulars because everyone on here has noticed that. So yeah, definitely, guys, please do this. Do the same thing in Deep Drinks. The bants is real over there as well.
Tema did actually bring up something. They said, I don't know if it's he or her, sorry, please don't generalize a group of people. I actually agree with that. I don't think all Muslims or all Christians or whatever are XYZ, but I'm just pointing out like a general idea, I think, like of like what I've noticed. But I think I don't like even using like terms like women or men or even like white people. I think that can be like toxic. I don't think you should judge people for immutable characteristics. So
yes,
awesome.
agree, completely agree. And yeah, David, thank you for shouting out everybody in the chat as well. Thank you.
No problem. Love the religion. Love the religious, hate the religion. Do you know that? Do you get that reference?
Exactly.
It's like the love the sin, I hate the sin. It's like the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah. Do we want to do a nice little Bible reading about some misogyny in the?
Yeah, for sure. But can I also just want to reiterate for 1 second that your wife buying you these tickets to this interfaith almost like thing, this changed your life, David. Can we just ponder on that for a second? This interaction effectively was the almost like the bowling ball effect, and then the domino effect of just everything else after this, the way you view the world, this insanely, I can't even imagine this conversation that you and Amy must have. What a tough conversation to have, and like you said, what
it's my wife's fault.
It's your wife's fault you're not Christian anymore. It's always the women. It was Eve ate the bloody apple. It was Lilith before her. Stop it. All of you stop it. Okay?
I was playing a video game with my mum and Amy the other night, and we were playing it online, and I said, well, shouldn't have eaten the fruit. Like my mum was like going through something,
David.
talking about something, and I was like, shouldn't have eaten the fruit. Oh no, we're talking about pregnancy.
I knew it because that's what you have to give birth and you have periods because Eve ate the fruit and she committed the first sin. What a disgusting foundation for women to internalize what is naturally such a miraculous, beautiful, natural, mammalian way to give birth. What the hell?
It's also funny because these same people in the next breath will say that we're not animals. However, every female animal has periods and well, not every. Mammals
produces breast milk and all that.
Yeah. So it's like we we're not animals, but God seemed to punish those those groups of species with the same things that you would assume. I don't know. It's you kind of sound like an evolutionist now, bro. Like it's like if God's given what did like the guinea pig ever do that needed to have like a period and pains for child?
Yeah,
like
which
that's
guinea
just,
pig Eve ate a peanut.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah, but okay, David, if you're gonna entice us with a Bible reading, I think all of us like-minded, the atheists in the chat are like, oh, a Bible reading is yes, it really is necessary, fellas.
So it's always fun to throw shade at Islam for being misogynistic, which it definitely is, obviously. But I'm here as a ex-Christian representative, so I need to throw some misogyny from the Christian Bible to.
We're gonna level it out, guys.
It's not just Islam that says misogynistic. The Christians, we have it as well.
Share the love, Abrahamic love. Share it.
So I read this. So I read like one of these verses to you on the stream the other night, but essentially I'll just touch on it quickly. Women should learn in quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man. She must be silent. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived. It was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner. But women will be saved through childbearing if they continue with faith, love, holiness, and with propriety. So I read that last time, and most Christians, that's the New Testament, by the way. This isn't the Old Testament, or everyone likes to dodge the Old Testament. This is all New Testament.
Thank you,
so
David.
There's that one, which is, it's always a fun one, but I just thought I'd read it out again. But this one, this one is Paul's instructions to the Corinthians on how propriety in worship. Okay. 1 Corinthians 11 verse 2. I praise you for remembering me in everything and for holding to the teachings just as I pass them on to you. Now I want you to realize that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man who prays or prophesies with his head covered dishonors his head, and every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head. It is just as though her head were shaved. If a woman does not cover her head, she should have her hair cut off. And if it is a disgrace for a woman to have her hair cut off or shaved off, she should cover her head. A man not ought to cover his head, since he is the image of God, or is the image and glory of God. But the woman is the glory of man. For man did not come from women, but women from man. Neither was man created for women, but women for man. So women were created for man. For this reason, and because of the angels, the women ought to have a sign of authority on her head. Yeah. In the Lord, however, women is not independent of man, nor is a man independent of women. And it goes on to talk about some of the stuff. Yeah. So
That
even
plenty
how many
misogynistic.
So yeah, how many Christians do you know that wear prayer coverings? If you look at the Christian women who wear headscarves, if you look at the Westboro Baptist Church, I don't know if you know who they are. They're the ones that God hates, the F slur, the homosexual slur, pray for more dead soldiers, those people who protest funerals and stuff, the really evil, disgusting people. The ladies in that church wear headscarves when they go to church to pray, because the Bible says to. But I don't know any Christian who wears headscarf to pray.
Yeah, no, neither. I mean, it's even dark in the sense that, like, just the basic theology is like man was created in God's image, and then like a woman comes from a man there of a man as opposed to vice versa. And it's like that whole concept of Eve coming from Adam's rib again, where like, like a man gets formed first. You were just an afterthought to keep him company. And then you're also the one who screws up first. And therefore, like, it's the very foundations of it are terrible.
Should have taken a different rib.
Yes. Do you do you have anything to say on this? If Simon is saying that Genesis actually does say men and women are, I don't think it says women, does it, David?
I don't know if it says men and women in the image of God, but doesn't matter what Genesis says. There are other parts in the Bible where women are worth literally less than men. So they're worth men are worth 50 shekels, women are worth 30 shekels if you kill a slave woman or a slave man, or if you're selling selling someone. They're worth different prices in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament as well, I guess you could say there is one part where women get maybe a better deal, I don't know. But when God commands the Israelites to go and murder the people of another nation, and they may have been pricks, I don't know, but let's say they were, the Israelites were to kill the men, kill the women, kill the infant boys, but to take the virgin girls for yourself. So I guess it's I guess that part's not really misogynistic, because I guess women get to live, the little girls get taken by the Israelites. So
yeah, just to be raped and have their children. Great. Great ending there. Thank you, God. What would you say to this? If this is 2 Timothy, it's very much believed by academics to not have been written by Paul.
Yeah, 2 Timothy, I think they're correct that that is not written by Paul. However, it's still part of the canon. So although it's not written by Paul, it's still the parts that are respected are quoted. That the first one was 2 Timothy. The first one, however, was not. It was 1 Corinthians, which was definitely written by Paul.
Okay, thanks. I think this is what.
Well, when I say definitely, I mean the scholar.
Yes. scholarly consensus wise, because we'll never ever know. But so is this how it's actually written verbatim, David? Is this kind of what it's along
So
the
God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Yeah, sure, that's great. But then how does John Stopman square the verse I've just read, which is in the New Testament? How does he square that?
Wow.
Because it says explicitly that man is the image of Christ, and women is the image of man. Like there's a like very simple to read hierarchy there.
That's what I was thinking. As soon as you read that to me, I just saw that hierarchy. I visualized it immediately. That's immediately making us like.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if you know this. So I did an episode on Deep Drinks with Alyssa Whitbeck Alexander, who she amazing woman. I love it. She's an amazing writer. She's great. And I found her on TikTok. I reached out to her, but she was a Mormon and she got married in the temple in Utah. Big deal. You can't have coffee. If you've ever had coffee, you're out. You're not allowed to go there. Your family's not allowed to come unless they're devout Mormons. Like, and when they go to receive their marriage, like to get married, they're given a new name, right? So the woman is given the name, like their pure name from God. And so she told me, and they're not supposed to tell anyone, but she told me because she's not a Mormon anymore. Her name was Lucy. The husband also gets a new name, but no one is to know this new name except for him and God, right? So the husband knows the lady's name, and she and he when he dies, the reason he needs to know her name is he calls her through to the afterlife. So he uses her name to call her through because he rules a kingdom, which is essentially like a planet, and he calls her through to be essentially like a companion to this man. So the Mormon doctrine obviously piggybacked off Christianity and took things a little bit further. But yeah, it's similar.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. John.
Okay.
Stop sign and saying, yeah, 1 Corinthians is understood to be written by Paul. Bart Ehrman suggested the bit about women needing headscarves is a later addition. Paul seemed to think gender roles were of little importance elsewhere.
Wow, yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. If that's the case, I mean, I love Bart Ehrman, a huge fan. That's really interesting. But I guess when I'm quoting this stuff, I'm not quoting it in that like, therefore women need to wear headscarves. I'm saying, hey, you're telling me this book is true. This is what it also says. Do you agree with this part? Because most Christians will say, no, the Bible is the inspired word of God. And then I go, okay, so if that's the case, because like another part, there's another part that Bart Ehrman talks about, and that is, the woman at the court in adultery, and Jesus is drawing a line in the sand, and she's caught in adultery. She's about to be stoned to death by loving religious people, and she and Jesus says, "Let he who's without sin cast the first stone," and they all throw their stones down and walk away. That's not in the earliest versions of John either. But
exactly, that's what I've heard. It's not there.
It's not there.
Yeah,
but it's in every Jesus movie. It has to be. It's the iconic.
I mean,
Jesus,
even non-Christians know that. That's what I knew. Jesus said, "He who hasn't sinned cast the first stone." That we know that.
Yeah, and that's a great. That, to be fair, that is a great message. Like it's like you can judge everyone else. It's easy to judge everyone else, but it's not always. You've got sin as well. So.
Yeah, but it's like in the same way in Islam, we were told this entire story. I think every young Muslim of my generation and probably the previous one was told that every day there was this woman and she used to throw garbage at Prophet Muhammad, and one day she didn't throw garbage at him, and it was because she was ill, and he actually went to check on her because he's like, oh, she's not throwing trash.
That's sweet.
And it doesn't exist anywhere, David. It's nowhere to
So that's like let he who's without sin cast the first stone. That's the same like idea.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so David, I want you to. So how much? Okay, we've gone to 1.5 hours. I know you have to get to work soon, but I want to.
I'll go over as long as you need, but we can.
Okay, how much time do you have? Because I just wanted to move towards the end. And then some questions and like,
yeah. We can go like another hour or an hour or two is fine, whatever.
Oh, no.
Okay. I know we won't, but I'm just saying like we can go for as long as you want.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, cool. Because I was just like, oh, should I speed up the pace of this and not let us go off on tangent?
No.
But Okay, great. So then I just want to say, so obviously now you and your wife, I think she was your wife by this point, Amy. You had this difficult discussion, and you came to a very intellectual conclusion, an intellectually honest conclusion, but also the fact that it seems like you were both on the same page about this, which is very rare. And I think you were very lucky that
Very rare.
you were, yeah, to be able to even have this conversation with a spouse. Usually, I mean, I know Muslim men who have left Islam, and their wives are, the whole shebang, hijab, Quran, like wants their daughters to go into it, that kind of thing. So a conversation is even already like a bit it's causing friction. But so you guys are kind of on this journey together. So then what happened after this conversation? How did your lives change? How did it start to change the way you thought?
Well, I guess at this stage might have considered us lukewarm Christians, or at least I would have considered us lukewarm Christians, because we would maybe, we would drink with friends if they came over for a barbecue or something. Like we weren't like, we didn't go to church like a whole lot. I think even at all, but like we weren't. But I still had my faith. I still believed in it and stuff. So I guess not a lot actually changed practically, but what changed was not a lot changed practically, but like definitely the cogs were moving in regards to like our like how we view the world and things like that. But the thing I always mention is like Amy is so chill, and I guess I talk about like I'm like this balloon that's like floating up over the forest, like getting blown around by the wind, and she's like this like rock that's holding me down, like grounded me in reality. Like that sounds like a bad idea to think of my wife as like a thing, but she like really does like hold me, like she keeps me grounded, because my ideas can just go
That's
all
actually
over the place.
I don't know, David, I think when you're in the middle of like podcasts, and then you've had like the drinks kicked in a bit, you come up with really great on the spot analogies. I heard you come up with one the other day about the weather as well, and today here you've dropped two, and I'm like, I completely get what you're saying right now. She's the rock, you're the hot air balloon. Wow.
Yeah. And
amazing.
there's so there's that, and like the thing too, I feel sorry for people who struggle with that in their relationship, where like you have the Bible calls it being unequally yoked, right? Like not having two different worldviews. But the problem is, well, that's not the problem, but I think my anxiety actually helped our relationship a little bit, because for the start of our relationship, I had to be like brutally honest with everything. I was so scared of like screwing it up. I was so scared of hurting Amy. Nothing could be hidden under the rug. Nothing could be like, even like, to a fault. I was too honest with everything. And I wanted Amy to be as honest with me. So if I upset Amy in any way, I never wanted her to be like passive aggressive. If I upset her, if she upset me, I didn't want to become passive aggressive. I wanted to, there was a lot of apologizing all the time. And even now, like it's embarrassing to be apologizing for the same things I was apologizing for 10 years ago, but I never want to stop apologizing. Right. So we've always been like really, really open and honest with each other, like really open and honest. So we always say how we're feeling, and even things like, and kind of assigning responsibility where it's due. So a great example is, early in our relationship, someone came up behind Amy and hugged her like for longer than I felt comfortable for in church. And it made me feel insecure, because I had some like issues with a previous love interest with this person. So it was like bring back old memories. And I felt like uncomfortable. I had to look away. I felt jealous. But I didn't approach that to Amy by being passive aggressive, or being or telling her off, or saying that, or getting up the guy. I realized that the jealousy was my issue. It was my feelings that I was dealing with. So I told Amy, I said, hey, just so you know, I'm dealing with this because of this situation. Please bear with me as I process these emotions. And that's like the best example I have of like our communication style. So, if I was say like, hey, I'm struggling in my faith, it wasn't like this, like, what are you talking about? You're a maniac. Like, what about what? Like, it wasn't all that. It was like, okay, like, how can I help you in your journey to thinking about your faith? Or if Amy's like, I've got anxieties about this, I'm like, okay, like, I don't tell her she's stupid or silly. Sometimes I do because it's funny, but like, that's not beyond the point. If it's a serious conversation, I'll be like, okay, like let's talk about this. Like, what can I do to help you process these emotions? So I think honesty always has to be a foundation of a good relationship. So I think like, I don't know if people ask, if people want advice, but if you are in that a situation where you and your spouse are moving into two different fields of perspectives in regards to your belief systems, it's probably a good time to start working on honesty, transparency in your relationship. And something that I asked Amy is, I said, because I realized that I was going down a very different path in my mind than Amy was in, and I could see us like it causing an issue in the future. And because I was watching a lot of the atheist experience, I was learning about rationality, critical thinking, philosophy, and I said to Amy, I said, look, I don't need you to come down this path. I don't want you to like become irreligious with me or anything like that. I wasn't even planning on becoming irreligious, but I said, I want you to come on this journey with me. And all that means is, that you'll be open to talk about these concepts with me. I know that you find them boring, but like for me, they're really important. And I was like, will you just listen to me if I talk about things? And she said, yes. So I asked her permission to not so that she would be open-minded enough to be able to have these conversations, because I also approached that, sorry, I'm rambling, but I also approached that from the perspective of, I want her to be able to show me where I'm wrong. Like I've got this thought process, maybe Matt Dillahunty put a spell on me and I don't know, so I've got this thought process. I need to show me where I'm incorrect, because I want to know the truth. And I think that is what really helped that situation. And I think that a lot of people in the relationships aren't, this is not the only way, of course, but I think a lot of people don't value that transparency as much. And I think that my anxiety helped us. So yeah, so that was, yeah.
That is honestly one of the most beautiful spins on like somebody like suffering from that level of anxiety at that time, and obviously all of the actual big existential things that you're facing in life at that time, and then to have enough wherewithal to understand that, hang on, me lashing out in anger or jealousy right now is not going to serve anything. In fact, I need this to take a much healthier approach. But whether that healthy approach is anxiety and driven or not, I mean, as Norse mythology is saying here, you guys seem to have an excellent communication style. It's just like all the foundations of what you need for a healthy relationship, not just to survive, I would say to thrive, and to actually go on and go on a journey. I love that you said that. I love that you kept it ambiguous and there was no end destination. It's like, let's just follow the path. Let's follow the evidence. Let's follow the truth. Let's follow the path of least resistance. Let's go with Occam's razor. Let's just and eventually that path would lead you to where we are now anyway, which is pretty wonderful in itself. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's so I'm glad you really went on that, because this is, I mean, you are one of those wholesome stories where you've managed to take this journey together without one forcing the other or one yanking the other along or saying, you know what, you're just not here quick enough for me. You're still holding on to these things. It's not going to work. How are we ever going to raise our kids? We're going to have arguments from day dot. Like this is going to, and it just won't work. And sometimes when one partner leans towards what you did, the other one as a like defense mechanism almost goes like reverse and goes more heavily religious, if that makes sense. Just to kind of back. Yeah.
Like there's also like two friends of mine, Dr. Josh and Megan Lewis. I'm sure you know Dr. Joshua Bowman and Megan Lewis. They're two Assyriologists, badass, peeps on the internet. Digital Hammurabi, they've got the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Love that.
So Megan is a Christian. Given she's a bit of a funny Christian in that she's queer and like really left Christian. Which is cool. Like I love it to death. And Josh isn't. Josh lost his faith through his study of Assyriology. And people often ask them, like, how do you make it work with having two different worldviews? And like, because we respect each other. And like, if something's important to Megan, Josh will. I think Josh even like teaches at a church, like teaches the kids group at a church, and he's an atheist. So it's so funny.
Wow. Yeah, but David, it's funny you say that, because honestly, like I always bang on it, especially when I'm speaking in Urdu to the Pakistani audience, that a lot of those situations of leaving religion actually de facto means give up my family, divorce my partner, leave, run away, like excommunicate myself from society. And I'm here like, wow, okay, I had a bit of like a tough time with Sharia, but I'm absolutely have not lost a single soul to this actual cause, which is crazy. And then I was like, what's the difference between my people and these people? And it's sometimes it's as basic as what you said, like it's just respect. Like I like you for a whole host of reasons, and we have a relationship for a whole host of reasons, other than this one thing about which God we believe in, especially when it's supposed to be such a I've always believed religion is so personal. Like the policing of Islam always weirded me out, because I'm very like, I'm just rebellious by nature, right? I don't like authority, and like Islam is very authoritarian.
That's the gin that you had when you're leaving your husband. That's the gin.
I must have done it since I was like 4 years old at some points. I mean, at 9 he left me because I wore hijab, but then he came back real quick and stayed forever.
Maybe when you were 4, you stepped over a jar of like old pickle juice and random bits and pieces, like a potion or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Maybe. But like, David, this is what makes me so happy about, like, I don't mean to say like success story in the sense that this can never happen, but like, it's so wholesome because if you're happy to talk about it as well, I know you guys are taking, you know, the next step as well in life, and you're gonna soon have an addition to your family. Your family's expanding, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we did IVF. That was great. The first round worked, which was tremendous, but it came with a long period of emotional turmoil, especially for Amy. I used to have this joke that Amy wants 4 kids and I want 0, so we're going to meet in the middle at 2. So like, but I've so for Amy, she's always wanted kids, like her whole life, and it came to a spot where, you know, it didn't look like it was going to happen for us without serious medical intervention. And I said to Amy, I was like, look, if this is super important to you, like I've never been like super stoked on kids or whatever. I am now, by the way. I can't wait to meet the little one.
I bet, yes.
I've never been super stoked, or never been like super into the idea. But I was like, but if this is like a dream of yours, that's like, we'll make it happen. I was like, I don't care if we have to do all the fertility stuff in the world. I don't care if we have to do surrogacy. I don't care if we have to adopt or foster. I don't care if we have to move to Africa and adopt a village of 50 orphans. Like, we are going to have children in your life at some capacity or not, where you're in a mother figure. I don't like that. I don't care. Like, it's this important to you, that's what we'll do. And so we went through 5 years of IUI surgeries. I got the fun jobs. So I got to stay home from work and masturbate. Oh, fuck, this is such a masturbating heavy stream. Sorry. Oh my God. I apologize, everyone.
Okay.
But that's a joke I always say. I got to stay home from work doing that, which is the only time in my life it's socially acceptable. I told my boss, in my life it's socially accepetable.
Can we say that's what most men on benefits are doing here in the UK anyway? But anyway.
Yeah. So you know, but Amy unfortunately had, like, you know, just needles and everyone looking everywhere and like, you know, so it wasn't a pleasant experience for Amy, but you know, we got there and we didn't think we were going to I had Amy on Deep Drinks recently talking about all this, but it's we didn't have
talk about this. I mean, if you wanted to just tell my audience where they can, like, you know, because that I felt like that was a very raw thing for you to do. I really, my hats off to you and Amy for being so raw and candid. And I can imagine it couldn't have been easy for both of you, but like especially Amy as well, like to detail going through all of those kind of, you know, like, you know, as you said, needles here and that. Like, it's not easy, and it's not easy because she's not even on YouTube in general, like the way you are. It's not easy to.
She was so nervous. She was so nervous. She
absolutely smashed it. Honestly, she was amazing.
Thank you.
She really was.
I definitely will. I definitely will. There's so I just put a link in the to the channel, but it's one of the most recent episodes in there. But it's when we're talking about IVF. It doesn't have many, like, I don't have any, like, your stream got over 1,000. Your stream, by the way, is everyone loves your stream. Even my like family members have talked about like your stream, and they're like it's opened my eyes to the misogyny that's going on. And I'm like, yeah, like not just in Islam, but in like lots of religions.
Amazing, David, look at the power of people over a drink can do. And YouTube,
yeah, exactly.
The power of YouTube, exactly. The might of the algorithm behind us.
No, yeah, for sure. And it was such an enjoyable conversation too. I'll have to have you on again because it was yeah, there's so much more we could go into, especially with your journey and Islam and things. But with Amy, the IVF, we drank non-alcoholic beer because obviously she loves her beer. She bought them, and we drank it together. But yeah, so like it was really difficult for her, especially. But when we went in to do the surgery to get the egg retrieval, we were expecting 4 eggs at most, and then from there, like, they get implanted. But she woke up, we got 9 eggs, which is amazing, and then 4 implanted, and then 3 of them survived. So we've still got 2 in the freezer, and the first one worked, which was just amazing. But like, I just feel so lucky. Like, we live in a country that has these facilities. We live in a country where we can afford to save. Like, it took us a long time to save up, but we could save up to get this kind of stuff. It's just so we feel very I won't say blessed, but I feel very lucky to be in this situation. So yeah, and the baby's traveling great. Like, everything is like right in the middle of where it should be and stuff. So yeah, it's
fabulous. So we're all here so happy for you, and I've particularly, because I've actually watched that journey that you and Amy had to get here. So if you haven't seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about when you do go and watch that, because it's a long journey, and I'm so happy that this is finally coming to fruition, and Amy gets to be a mother and you get to be a father. And yeah, and I'm also happy that this child is coming into a house where 2 adults have had a conversation prior to that, saying, hey, you know what, we might just be free thinkers, or whatever it is we are. So yeah, this is what I kind of wanted to shed light on as well. I know it's not always a family on board and on the same page, especially with like how it comes to raising a child. But how do you 2 intend to raise the baby, if it's not too personal, and obviously say
no, like, I'm an open book. But so it's actually a really good question. We're actually reading some books at the moment. I think there's a book we're reading called what you wish your parents read, or what your kids will be happy that you read, and what your parents wish you read, or something. I forgot, but it's a really good book. But essentially, like, it's really interesting for me because it's a whole new field of research that I get to look into. Like, what's the best way, to raise your children? Like, how do you deal with punishment? How do you deal with schooling? How do you deal with all these things? Like, where does the research point? I still take try and take a very intellectual approach to analyzing the data, and things like that. I'm also excited about showing them the world, and showing them like a bunch of things. And when I had Amy on the first time, because like I said, Amy doesn't think about stuff as much as I do. Like, I'm a very deep thinker, and Amy's just wondering where the next cheese board is, so that we can all have some drinks and have fun.
Hey, yes.
My brain.
Well, Misogyny is saying you'll make excellent parents, but yeah, we're just wondering, how will you raise this child? Like, is it with a completely free mind? Like, imagine like that stuff that your brain could never have the freedom to be that crystal clear from the get-go. Yeah. So in terms of that, is that exciting?
It's really interesting, because like, they'll grow up learning about all types of faiths and worldviews and ideas and concepts and things like that. There's something that I really loved about Neil deGrasse Tyson. So Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about the tooth fairy, and I was like, what do you do with the tooth fairy, right? Because like, you don't, like, some people don't want to lie to the kids. Some people think you should do it because it's fantasy and it's fun.
Yeah.
And what he did was, he told his children, and we love this, Amy and I, and it's not for everyone, but we loved it. He told his kids, we've heard that there's a tooth fairy, and that if you put your teeth under the pillow or whatever, you get coins. That comes and drops off coins to you the next day, or money in the jar. And the kids were like, you've heard this? And like, yeah, we've heard this. This is a rumor. We don't know if it's true or not. So the kids end up designing an experiment to try and catch out the tooth fairy. So the kids at school were like, okay, I'm not going to tell my mum or my father about the lost tooth. I'm going to see if the tooth fairy comes. It didn't come. Okay. The next time they put like tinfoil on the floor, so they would wake up to the noise of like, and I was like, this is great. The kids still had the fantasy of wondering if there is a tooth fairy, but they designed an experiment to justify their belief. And I was like, I love that. I love that so much. Like, to me, that's just like teaching a kid's critical thinking. It's brilliant. Yeah.
That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, if you've taught that kid right, they're going to keep experimenting and follow like empirical data and be like,
Yeah.
nah, my parents are chatting shit.
Yeah.
Cough
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But exactly the whole point of this, exactly, Dean Kruger smashed it. And thank you, Dean, for being here.
Yeah. That's great.
We definitely need to do something soon. But yeah, Dean is saying, I wish that my parents taught me how to think and not
Yeah.
what to think. Took me a few
Exactly.
decades to get there by myself. Touche, Dean. We will drink to that because it took me almost 3 decades, almost, to get to that by myself. But, and it just shows you like you know how already like the disadvantage you're placed at in life without even knowing it. Because for so long of those years, you hold on to it and think, this is reality and this is truth. So yeah, you're going through the education system and you're going through everything, and you might be going to university and getting the best degrees, but is your brain actually ticking in the ways that it should be? It's really not when it comes to really basic logic, because you've just had to operate in a different sphere for so long to be able to go along with what your family's doing, with what your parents doing, to stay in the fold, to stay in the community. I mean, you don't want to be a rebel without a cause, right? So yeah, I think that's nailed it. Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of people don't care. Like, a lot of people, like, most people don't care. They just want to get on with their day. They want to collect Pokemon cards or whatever you do when you're 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever. So it's like a lot of people don't think about these big existential questions. So it's like, so Dean's right. How to think, not what to think.
Exactly. Yeah. And people in the chat are excited that atheists are reproducing or free thinkers are reproducing, because usually it's like the religious people who are obsessed with reproducing.
Yeah.
I obviously see a problem in Islam as well, and there's the whole point of like, you know, more wives and sex slaves, and there's verses or there's bits of the Quran, a hadith, sorry, which, you know, Muhammad's companions are asking him, we've captured these slaves, they're married, do we pull out, or do we just, you know, finish inside them? And he's like, no, just finish inside them, because, you know, whatever soul's meant to be born will be born. And they're like, yeah, but they're slaves and they're already married. And he's like, it's fine. So that's like, it goes into that like depth and that level. But even in Christianity and Judaism, I've seen lately, there's that whole thing about be fruitful and multiply, and there's a whole emphasis on this concept of procreating for God and the cause.
There's a old, this is going to be real dark, but there's I had this thought experiment once, which was essentially like, okay, do children go to heaven? It's like, yes, children always go to heaven. It's like, okay, so if you let that child get to the age of maturity, then you're risking, you're going from a 0% chance of hell to anything higher than a 0% chance of hell. And I was like, so it would only be ethical to kill your children. That's the only ethical thing to do. And I was like, you're kind of like Jesus, sacrificing yourself, because it's a sin to murder, for your children's sake, right? And people are horrified when I bring this up, but I'm like, that's the logical extension of the doctrine of hell. And there was, so yeah, sacrificing yourself, you know, for children. And there was actually a mother who did this. She drowned her 4 children in the bathtub because she was so scared that they'll be polluted by the world, that she said, I'm going to risk myself and I'm going to go to hell for knowing that my children will end up in heaven. So like, she was mentally ill, obviously. I think you'd have to be, but it's true. It's a logical extension of the doctrine of hell and the atonement of children being there. So
no, you're completely right, David. And I just want to give, Muhammad's just hanging around, loving this blasphemous chat today, are we? About time you withheld you like took some criticism. But he mentions Armin Nawabi, and that's important because the other day as well, in one of my Urdu streams, which I've started to do a lot more now, is that like I was thinking about how insane the punishment of hell is in Islam, especially. It starts in the grave, and God is one of the first things he's gonna ask you is how many times a day have you prayed. And that's why Muslims are always like so worried about time, like when the sun sets and stuff, because this is like, you always have to be in a surplus. You can't be like you can't have a deficit, because you need enough to get to heaven, so you're constantly like racing against it yourself.
yeah.
Armin Nawabi when he was a kid as well, because I think the cutoff age varies in certain schools maybe, but from about 7 to 9, when you actually have to start practicing Islam like a normal Muslim would, right? Armin Nawabi actually tried to find a loophole. He's an ex-Muslim atheist YouTuber as well. He's Iranian, and he tried to find a loophole out of Islamic hell by trying to jump out the window and kill himself just before he turned.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I actually invited him onto Deep Drinks. He was busy at the time, but he's hopefully going to be on soon. But yeah, I remember hearing that story and I was shocked.
It's wild how your brain works, right? And like just the other day I was listening to another stream, and this guy was joking, and he was saying, "Oh, I had a Muslim friend who, because obviously the concept is you have a angel on your right shoulder and an angel on your left shoulder who are always writing down your good deeds and your bad deeds. But the only time that they wait outside for you and they're not on your shoulders writing these deeds is when you're in the bathroom." So this guy was trying to again find a loophole of how to not go to Islamic hell, because let's be honest, Islamically, it's so stacked against you to even get there in the first place. As a woman, you even have less chance, because the majority of you are in hell because you're ungrateful and you answer back to your husbands. So this guy was like, if I get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever he wants, and do whatever I want in the bathroom, that's fine. If I do all my sins in the bathroom, if I eat in the bath, if I die in the bathroom, that's the best place to die, because nothing would have been written. So it just would, like, if I imprison myself in the toilet, I would never get to hell. But it's like whack how the things that you have to conceive just to try and save yourself from what is this eternal punishment.
It's just eating bacon and just like having gay sex. Like there's
normal things as well.
I know that there was I think it's Judaism. I think it's the Sabbath. I think it's somewhere in Judaism where this guy designed this clock, and on the Sabbath, it's trying to call every single number at once, right? And you remove the pen, so you're not actually pushing the button, you're removing something, which then lets that number go through. So it's like this complicated way of removing things, so then you're not actually calling someone, because you're not allowed to do anything on the Sabbath, but you're letting the machine call someone for you. And it's like this is so, I think this is missing the point of the Sabbath. Yeah, it was on one of Richard Dawkins' documentaries.
You know there's something wrong, right? When everything you're doing is trying to bypass that very thing.
Oh yeah. Or like I think it's tradition. I heard this back in the day, but it's tradition, not traditional, but if you see someone, another Jew eating like bacon or something, that you wait till they finish their meal to tell them, because otherwise you've ruined their meal and they've already sinned. So it's like, just let them finish their sin, and then I don't know, that's obvious. I'm not generalizing again to a whole group of people, but I've just heard that's the case in some communities.
Let them enjoy the rest of their sin at the very least.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but then David, also I just want to say, Saeed, who likes Allah and not the mullahs, if you're in the chat, I really have been dying to have another conversation with you since our last talk. So if you want to hang around, I can add you to the stream. If you're here, just let me know in the chat, because I really enjoyed our conversation. But what I wanted to say, and David, we can both have a chat with him together if you're up for it, if he is here.
Definitely.
But just to wrap up, what then? Because this is all great. I'm loving, like, just honestly, since I found your channel, since you got in touch, I'm just like, you are such a great addition to just like this whole area of spreading knowledge on YouTube and having these fun chats. But what made you think, all right, you know what? This is my life now. This is how I think. But let me start a podcast. Let me start having these conversations. Let me do it over drinks. Where do these two things kind of and come together on YouTube?
So I think ages ago, I wanted to start a podcast, and I recorded a few conversations with some friends, and I called it Deep Drinks Podcast, because we would just get drunk while doing it. We didn't release it anywhere. It was just like testing. That was okay. But it's like 2 episodes or something. And but I was watching so much content online that I wanted to get involved in the conversation. So I initially started my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/David Mcdonald YT. I'll put that in the comments.
Yeah, sure. As well, David McDonald.
But so, and I started posting Oh, it's got a space there. Anyway, I started posting.
I'll put it up here. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I started posting like videos there, like talking about the things I've learned and things like that. And yeah, this is it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I got heaps of videos. Oh, you're subbed, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yes, I told you I'm obsessed with your stuff.
So I started. So and then on this channel, I started Deep Drinks podcast, and I had, I started recording them. Initially, I didn't go live. I just recorded them because I wanted to give the person I was interviewing as much freedom to talk about whatever they wanted, and I can cut stuff out. But eventually, I decided to start live streaming them. And when I did that, I realized that my channel, as you see, my channel is just all over the shop. Sometimes I'm extremely reasonable. I'm having conversations with like that Brian guy there. He's a white supremacist, flat earther, Jewish conspiracy dude that I talked to on Omegle, and I'm extremely calm and collected. But then there's other videos where I'm screaming, like the one there, these questions got me banned. I'm like roasting this Christian, this Discord lady who invited me to a server and told me I was going to hell. So I just started. Yeah, it was a good one. It's a fun conversation. So, my branding was all over the place, and I've got a degree in marketing. So I was like, okay, this is silly. So I decided, Deep Drinks is the only thing that's actually like seems to have like a rhythm through it. So I'll move that to its own channel. And that's why on youtube.com/deepdrinks, you like some of the earliest videos have like not many views because originally they had like thousands of views. But I've unlisted them on this channel and then put them on the new channel. So yeah, so like some of the early videos, which I think are really good, are like only like got 70 views. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like some of them like Haley Brooke, she's like a musician who found out that she was gay, realized that she was gay, and then like the struggle that she had with like going through pray the gay away therapy, and her mum thinking that she has demons, and her her parents being QAnon conspiracy theorists and stuff, like super interesting.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's just so yeah, it's like all that kind of stuff. And that's where I started interviewing more and more people. But essentially, initially, the idea was I wanted to be involved in the conversations that I was having with people. If you go down to the bottom, I'll show you. If you scroll down to the bottom. So, yeah. So that first one, Bible, Quran, how to deal with grief. So these are all like serious videos. And then at one stage, I just went silly. I just went like real silly, and then started making like I realized that people like me a little bit for my humor as well. So I started adding some humor in there as well, and then yeah, that's where it's been going ever since. But yeah, Deep Drinks is definitely where it's at because that's like at least got consistent branding. Yeah. So. But
okay,
yeah,
no,
same
but
with
I
this
would definitely
one.
say, I mean, if there's some things on here, because the Hellcast panels on here, is that also that's on Deep Drinks as well, right?
No, that's only on this. Yeah, so Deep Drinks is just Deep Drinks.
So people definitely subscribe to this channel as well, right? I would encourage
definitely.
people to. There's something here that aren't on the other ones.
Yeah, when I get to 1,000 subscribers on either one, I'm going to do like a charity stream because that's when I can monetize the channel, which will be cool. But Deep Drinks is a lot more like conversations like this, more intellectual and funny. And sometimes we get like I had Shannon Q on, and we just got so drunk, like so drunk. We had I had Thomas Westbrook, Holy Kool-Aid on, and he made the Kool-Aid drink, and it was like literally like a Long Island iced tea, and we were just blitz by the end. But at the same time, I have like
how much booze went into that, and I was like, I'm worried for.
It was like half a cup. Yeah, it was like shots and shots of spirits. But then there are other. Thank you, Dee. I'll make sure to see you in the comments, and I'll also say hi. But there's there's people who we had Derek Lambert, Myth Vision. He used to be a heroin addict, so we drank coffee, or we have a Hare Krishna on Arjuna who we drank kombucha. So it doesn't have to be alcoholic, but this the drink sets the pace, and the guest chooses the drink, so they kind of set the pace of the conversation, which I love. That once again, I love that the Ukrainian Anastasia who's coming on. We're going to be drinking. She's like, it's Ukraine, we drink. And I'm like, okay, like you're in a war zone, but grab your bottle of wine and like, let's do it. Yeah,
we
Holy
probably
Kool-Aid.
need it more than ever over there right now. But Yeah, no, I absolutely
Yeah.
love that. And please, like, we have 43 people watching right now. We're gonna have a lot more afterwards as well, hopefully. Please, can we get David across both channels to over 1,000? That would be absolutely fabulous.
I would lose if you. I'm gonna need to have you on the charity stream. I think it's gonna be 6 hours. You can come on for a little bit and say hello because yeah, if you like, I'm
I would
already.
absolutely love to. If we can do it, I want to bump you up. I know you know you've thought this out, like your conversations you have. You're so, I mean, it's just again, it's intellectual honesty to intellectual honesty, right? Like I have to commend that and be like, I stand by all the conversations you're having, what you're doing, that the drink sets the scene. I love it.
I just looked and we've had a little bump in subscribers. So thank you everyone who has subscribed. It actually means a lot to me that you've subscribed. So
thank you,
yeah,
thank you. And please, by the time my YouTube fam, let's do our thing. By the time David comes back from work today, Aussie time, I don't know when that is in the UK, but by the time he does, if he comes home to a nice surprise and, you know, he can open a nice glass of bubbly and Amy can have, well, yeah, you can both have a glass of bubbly for it now, no? I'm so
non-alcoholic, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Non-alcoholic champagne, but that would be amazing if we could get you monetized.
Yeah.
And
if I can't, I know that'd be a huge amount of subscribers. If I came home and there was like 1,000 people subscribed, I'd headbutt my head through the wall and scull a bottle of scotch. Like that would be amazing. But I'm not going to do that. But yeah, thank you, doorknob head.
Yeah,
that's
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you so much, Doorknob Head, Norse mythology. I knew you guys would like do your thing. But yeah, thank you. It's honestly as good as the conversation is here that you're missing the party there. So let's make this like one big YouTube family. We all just hang out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you on again soon, Nuria, because it's just yeah, I always love talking to you. I feel like we can chat really easily. Sometimes guests are hard. Do you ever have guests that you're like pulling things from, that you're like trying to keep the ball in the air? Like with you, it feels like I feel like I wouldn't even need to prepare. We could just start talking and
I literally, David was like, should I prepare for this? Should I? And then I was like, no, it's me and David. Like, it's fine. I'm actually going to just see you for a drink, or we're meeting in the park, or like.
Yeah. And that's what I hope. And I'm glad that we're drinking too. Which is like, we got to have a drink. And I was like, because that's like the whole vibe of what I want to create with Deep Drinks as well. Is like you are just meeting someone for a coffee and or a drink.
100%. Like this is how I'd spend it, like an evening with catching up with mates or whatever anyway, you know. And also the fact that it's haram in Islam is just that much. It always is. Oh my gosh, George is saying you guys are dope and religion is not dope. Thank you, George. Thank you.
George.
David, how would you feel? I want to put the link out because I think I saw Saeed here. Mohammed, if only you had said this 1,400 years ago, do you understand? I would have actually followed you. I would have actually believed the stuff that you came out with. You're 1,400 years too late, mate. But better late than never, I must say. But David, would you be comfortable for us to let Saeed in and we'll have a quick chat with him?
Oh, definitely. I'd love to talk to anyone. I'm just going to get my headphones are being a bit funny, so I'm just going to turn them off, turn them on, so I won't be able to talk for a couple seconds.
Sure. I just want to say that Somali Christian TV ex-Muslims is in the house. Thank you so much. I was on earlier as well because they were talking today about a very important topic, which is really close to my heart, which is the Arab slave trade, which, as you know or don't know, then you should find out and read and research. But it preceded the transatlantic slave trade, and I've done a whole video. In fact, one of my first videos was on this because I was shocked at the racism and the, you know, how casually in Islam you trade 2 black slaves for 1 Arab slave or whatever it may be. But it hurt me, the fact that there were black Muslims who don't know what Muhammad or Allah thinks of their, you know, their own fellow human beings. Like they actually are called raisin head, things like that, everything to do with sin and the worst kind of dogs and the devil. It's always black, and there's always this comparison between white and black. And that's why I put up that Muhammad Ali video when he actually really well states that, like, why is, you know, blackmail bad, and, like, you know, a white lie good, and angel cake white and the devil cake black, and all of that kind of thing. But if he'd only applied that same thing to actual authentic Islamic scriptures, it's very much that in Islam you kill black dogs. You know, it's very, very heavily there. So thank you so much for covering that, and thank you for hosting me, and thank you for dropping in this chat, even though you know, again, I said, like, obviously I'm not Christian, and here we have an ex-Christian. So I really, really appreciate the support and the love, and I learn a lot from you guys. As I said, you come out with some hadiths that I've never heard of, and it's not easy to try and change the mind of Somalians, or, you know, like Black African Muslims in general, or even African American Muslims. They're just not willing to confront this part of their history. So thank you very much. I wish I could have stayed on longer with you guys and had a laugh and discussed the topic more, because Safraz was very entertaining. But I had to jump onto this stream, and I didn't want to be rude and say I need to go and interview an ex-Christian, but here I am. So you got me. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, you know, everything we can do, as I said, to change any Muslim's mind and let them see the truth is great. So thank you. And yeah, let's be in touch, and you're welcome here anytime.
I was just going to say, I think it's great that, you know, you got some Christians here that are happy to have conversation, and I'm sure I've seen some Muslims in your chat before on Deep Drinks when you came on. I think it's important to recognize that, although, and I think what the person said before about generalizing people is good, not to generalize people, even though we're talking about like Islam, Christianity, and all those things. I think it's important that we're not is the word vitriolic, or we're not demonizing that group of people, and that we can have conversations with these people as well, because I think that it's, you know, it's all good and fun to like make fun of these like concepts and stuff, but you know, the scriptures that I read out today, they're really important to some people. And where we're both chilling at today, Mecca, you know, I'm in the back room somewhere and you're out there. That's, you know, really important to some people, but we still, it's good that we can still have conversations with people of different perspectives and stuff. You never want to be stuck in like a big circle jerk of like people who just believe 100%. The same thing.
Yeah, it becomes an echo chamber, but also, like, I don't want to be known. I mean, this channel is all based on intellectual honesty. That's fine, but that doesn't mean that I want to dismiss any point of view or perspective that I don't agree with. The point is that it's intellectual honesty being pursued in a safe space, and a safe space, by its very definition, means no bigotry and no like, you know, don't paint, like, no true Scotsman. Let's just apply that to like everyone and treat everyone on an individual basis. That's why, like, yeah.
Oh, so sorry. I was just mentioning quickly that with the, you know, our children, I was going to say before, but I forgot to mention that, you know, if they grow up and they end up becoming religious, like, great, they might even convince me to become religious if they've got sufficient reason. If they grow up trans, part of the LGBT community, I'll even love my children if they grow up straight. Like, I'll be fully on board. So,
I love that. I love that take, David. That is a true free mind. You know what you're saying here?
So yeah, so like you know, same thing too. It's like it's how we treat our relationship. It's like they're their own people, their own, you know, got their own journeys, their own lives. Like, I may have like wishes for them, but doesn't mean that, you know, whatever. Like, whatever they want to do, like I'll try and support them in that, as long as it's not like, I guess, like super detrimental, like
like being a fanatic follower of Islam. Do not be an Islamist.
Yeah.
Be a Jain. Extra, we wouldn't have to worry about you, as Sam Harris would say.
Yeah. Are there any religions where wives have more than one husband?
No, I know of some like matriarchal societies in Africa where that was the case. And you literally would have like, you would have all of these husbands, and whichever child you'd have, like, all of them would assume that it's theirs. And kind of, that's where you get these special takes of village to raise a child. Yeah. So yeah, and also, I don't know, David, do you know, I think the in the Jewish lineage system, it's matriarchal. So you get your mother's last name and you follow her lineage as opposed to your father's. In
Yeah,
Judaism. Interesting.
that's the excuse that people use too for the conflicting genealogies of Jesus in Matthew and Luke. So there's like two genealogies. Like Joseph's father is Machach, and then the other one says Joseph's father was Brian. They're wrong names, but you get the
Yeah.
idea. And I'm like, well, no, it says Joseph's father. Like, unless you're gonna say it's, it doesn't say Mary's bloodline, doesn't say anything like that. It says Joseph's father.
Yeah, yeah. And David, okay, I'll put the link out one more time if Safraz is here. Sorry, not Safraz, I'm getting confused. Saeed. Saeed is here. But David, I wanted to ask you, your favorite story in the Bible when you were Captain Christian, what was it? Or your worst? Either one.
I'm trying to think. It's probably I think it's not the story, but it's 1 John. I'll just read a little section of it. This is turned into like a weird Bible study, but it's still very poetic. It says, "This is the message we have heard from him that I declare to you: God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with him, yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live by the truth. But if we walk in light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his Son, purifies us from all sin." So yeah, it's a good book. It's poetic. I've got a tattoo on my arm here, but anyway, tattoo of a cross. It was the same cross that Tupac had on his back, and now Justin Bieber. So it was, it was cool. Then it wasn't cool, but Justin Bieber's pretty cool again. So it's cool again. But underneath it, it's I've got the scripture. Therefore, if the Son sets you free, you're free indeed. Which we can talk about it another time. But essentially, it was the scripture that I felt really strongly at like this spiritual convention that I went to, that I just felt like God had set me free, essentially. And so
yeah. Zach Ross goes, I like the empty blank page behind the back cover of the Bible. Zach Ross, hardcore atheist here. Look, other people are giving real stories, like Moses trying to get to the promised land, or what's Joseph?
If you had to give,
like these
Nah, I don't like the Old Testament. Boring to me.
Boring.
I think the best actual story is probably the day of Pentecost. So when the Holy Spirit came down and they're all speaking different languages, and that whole adventure, that seemed fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, David, let's deep dive into some of these fun stories, and I'll bring some of the Islamic stories, like the best ones, and you bring the Christian ones. We can have a whole stream on this and just have fun with it. Yeah. But we've got Saeed with us. David, if you wanna.
Yeah, let's do it.
Add him on. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Saeed, I'm going to add you in 3, 2, 1. Saeed.
Hi, ma'am. How are you doing?
Hello.
Good. How are you? I miss talking to you.
Nice to meet you again.
Yeah, nice to meet you again. I see you've changed your picture now. It actually says what you preach. Yes to good hadiths, no to dirty hadiths. Is that correct?
Yes. I believe it.
Okay.
What's a good hadith?
There are a lot of good hadiths. It's like a moral teaching, prophet saying. So I accept those. And dirty hadiths, prophet wife was 6-year-old, or many other dirty hadiths.
But Saeed, can I ask you a question? If the good hadith and the dirty hadith is written by the same person, then what are you going to do? How do you know when he's telling the truth or when he's lying?
Ma'am, this hadith is written not by prophet. You see?
Know.
Yes, the people have written this thing about him. So it make no sense. Let me tell you about the prophet married 6-year-old girl. You see, prophet says when you want to marry a girl, you have to take permission from her. Okay? Or Allah also in the Quran, Allah said you must not take her forcefully. You cannot marry women.
It also says her silence is her consent.
Yeah. I will explain to you.
Please do.
Prophet was 55-year-old or something like that when he married to the Aisha, Bibi Aisha. You see, Did he ask a 6-year-old girl to marry me? Did he agree? I want to marry this bearded man, old bearded man. I want to marry him. No, no child will say, I want to marry this 50 old man, 53 or 55-year
Exactly.
old.
My point
So,
exactly.
so there was no prophet said you must take her permission. Okay, so she obviously will say, if a father asks her, Aisha father asks her, do you want to marry that old bearded man? She will probably she will say, no, I don't want to marry her. Just like a children reaction will be. So this story, they made up all this nonsense. Uh, that's how this happened. There are a lot of nonsense things in Islam came after the Prophet. So I don't
I
believe
agree. A
Prophet.
lot of nonsense in Islam. But
So,
Yes,
yeah, okay.
can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Are you a Muslim now?
Sir, what I am doing over here, Islam, I'm propagating
Yes.
Islam.
He
Okay.
recited Surah Fatiha for us, yeah, last time.
Oh, okay, cool. If it was accurate that Muhammad did marry a 6-year-old without her permission, would that disqualify Muhammad as a prophet?
It's a question of manner, a manner of a prophet. If he marry a 6-year-old, he has no manner. And if he has no manner, then he is not a prophet.
Okay, so what information would you need to find to determine that Muhammad, so if Muhammad did marry a 6-year-old, right, then you're saying that he's not the prophet. Is that right?
No, because marrying a 6-year-old girl, how long he had been thinking about marrying that Aisha 6-year-old girl? Maybe year, 2 year, when she was 3-year-old, 4-year-old, he was thinking, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is not a 55-year-old man. Even normal person would not marry a 6-year-old girl. That will be people will be beat him up. If even if
Yeah.
in Arabian society, if he marry, they will beat him up.
Is there anywhere in the Quran that forbids that?
Yes, there is. There is. First of
Okay,
all,
why?
first of all,
Can
Allah said,
I just
okay,
ask
okay,
if
okay.
there are areas in the Quran that forbid it, and then there are many Muslims who believe that he did marry a 6-year-old, do they just not know those verses?
No, 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 no. It is not from the Quran verse. It's from the Hadith. It's not
Yeah,
from
that's what
Quran.
I'm saying. But there's a lot of Muslims who accept it, that Muhammad married a 6-year-old. So what I'm asking is, are there any Quran verses that say that it's not okay to marry a child?
I will show you. I will show you. Uh, First of all, Allah said in the Quran, "Do not inherit women agent their will." So you have to have permission. That's what God saying in the
So
Quran.
what?
Another I will give you
Mhm. But
example.
I'm just asking. I understand that, let's say, I'll say that that's okay. I agree. I believe you. Okay, that's in the Quran. But why do some Muslims then believe that Muhammad did marry a 6-year-old?
You see, the thing happened. There are a lot of misinformation going. They wanted to make Aisha look like a virgin girl. Okay, so they lower her age. So they come up with this idea she marry. Another thing is there are enemy also contribute to hadith of Islam. So this happened because they wanted to make Aisha is very virgin girl. Because you see, Prophet married only one virgin girl. You know that
Mhm.
she was.
Yeah.
The,
Well, we don't know exactly. We know that she was a virgin, or we think that she was a virgin, providing she wasn't doing something before
that's
she was
why
supposed
they
to.
lower her age. That's why they lower her age. So
Well,
she
yeah.
for them to make her virgin.
So well, let me ask you this though. Let's say that if you found out that in fact Allah did think it was okay for Muhammad to marry a 6-year-old, that it was okay in the eyes of God, would that change your perspective on your religion?
You know, no, no, no. You talking some kind of God think about this that way. God never think about like that. You cannot make me. Your God want to kill your son, your daughter. Will you kill me? This kind of question is make no sense. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you
Well, if
that
it
God,
was permissible by Allah to marry a
no, no, no.
6-year-old.
This kind of Allah. Why you think Allah gonna make us to eat piece of shit? Why you think he want to do that us?
Well, if Allah if Allah was telling his was saying that it was okay to eat a piece of shit, I probably wouldn't. I would be like, there's something going on here. But
No, no.
I'm just saying.
God won't say that like that things. Okay, God want us to be a better human being. Why he will want us to marry a 6-year-old girl or 3-year-old girl? Why he would say that?
Well, but yeah. Where I'm kind of getting at, and I'll just kind of just say it, is you most. I would assume that you get your morals from Allah, right?
No, 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 both
From the
from Allah,
Quran.
both from moral from God, Allah, and moral from my God. Put me in program my brain to be to be a moral person. So it's morality
Okay.
within me, with
Yeah.
morality
So
within me.
are there any parts? Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like you've got this subjective internal experience that says it's wrong to marry a 6-year-old, and then you've got also the instructions from the Quran to help guide your intuition. Um, is there anything that in the Quran, not the Hadiths, that in the Quran that doesn't sit right with you with your internal subjective morality?
Yeah. About the hell, hell.
Okay.
It doesn't. I did not like it, but I accepted because it is a parcel to believe in God in Quran, and I have to believe in the hell. But I did not like it.
Mm.
Sayed, I was just like you. I read the hell in Islam. It's scary. Like we were
It,
talking earlier, right? What David and I were saying, your
it's
skin
very
will be roasted. It's horrible, right?
it's very scary. I mean, I cry, not because hell, but our whole thing. But it's very, very, very painful, very, very scary hell.
Mm.
Exactly. And do you think that's like in the Quran, Allah says Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, right? The most merciful. Do you think that is the hell of the God that's most merciful?
Yes, look, like I said, God is merciful. I have to accept that because He forgive. Look, people do a lot of evil thing, wrong thing. God said, if you say, ask for forgiveness and you never do those things back again, so God say, I will forgive all those things, even if you murder or thing you do. But if you repent, you are really repentance of your wrongdoing. You cry for your wrongdoing. So then God will come and He will forgive you. He will merciful to you.
Okay, so you think that if you cry enough, when do you cry? On the day of judgment or before that in your life?
No, 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 no. Everything you have to do in this life before you
Okay,
die.
okay.
And another thing, you cannot. Let's say you are doing evil thing in your teenager or in your 20s. You cannot wait until you get a 70, 65 like that. You have to be earlier than that because when you get older age, you will be not be forgiven when you get older. So you have to be
Okay,
repentant your early age.
what's the last age that Allah will forgive me?
Well, I don't know, but in the Quran, Allah said, when you get older, when you seeing your death is coming, and you want to, you cannot do like if you are 60-year-old, 65-year-old, and you cannot do sleep around. You say, oh, I no longer want to sleep around. I want to be good boy. No, you want to be good boy not because you cannot do perform sex. That's why you want to be good boy now. So Allah said, no, no, no. You whole life you steal people, money, everything. Now you see coming to death. So you want to give away your all the money you steal from the poor people. Now you want to give to charity. God will say, no, 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 no. Charity when you were young, you acceptable. When you are
So
dying, yes, sir.
have you always been a Muslim?
I never doubt. I was born into Muslim family, and I would never have doubt a single second about God existence. I never doubt Quran from God a single second. I never.
Is have you why did you choose Islam and not like a younger religion like Hinduism, an
Oh,
older
no, no.
religion? Sorry.
Listen, I'll tell you. If Hindu born into a Hindu family, God will acceptable for him. A person born into Christianity, God accept them. A
What
Jew born
about
from
what
a
about
Jewish
my children? What about my children born into an atheist family?
if your children born into an atheist family and die, in early age, they will directly go to heaven. But if they grow
Oh,
up like if 16-year, 18-year old, and they reject it, then they will go to hell.
seems kind of cruel. It seems like no offense, but it seems like your God's kind of like a mafia boss. It's kind of like, ooh, it's a mighty fine soul you've got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
No, no, brother, I can explain to you in detail all this, but we don't have that much time to explain why God want to punish people. You may thinking if you reject God and He want to punish you. No, 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 like that. You misunderstanding. God want people to believe in Him, so
No,
you
no,
do.
I'm aware of the talking points because I used to preach them from the pulpit, like that God cries with you and holds your hand all the way to the gates of hell because he's just
No,
so
no, no.
heartbroken.
We don't have like that. We don't have. God don't take you to hell.
No, he
No.
doesn't, he lets you go to hell. So he walks with you trying to pull you in the other
No, no.
direction.
God gave you choice to want to
Yeah.
go hell or hell. It's up to
But
you. God
okay,
doesn't make
but
you go to hell.
yeah, but hang on. Okay, so let's say hypothetically, I'm going to do whatever I want in this life. I'm going to blaspheme. I'm going to not believe in Allah, but but then I'm still making the choice. I do not want to go to hell.
No, no. It's not your choice. You don't have a choice to go to hell or not.
But you just said it's a choice. I'm
No,
making
no,
the choice.
no,
I don't
no,
want to
no,
go to
no.
hell.
Choice means you have a choice. You reject God, right? So this is you have a choice to reject God. So you are accepting a hell is your place to your destiny. So God doesn't make you have a choice in this life.
That seems, yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and I used to say the same thing, but that seems kind of like kind of cruel. See, what if like for example, what if this life was a test, and the test was, and someone said that I'm quoting Matt Dillahunty, I am actually, but let's say the test of this life was to reject all religions for insufficient reason, and then the only way you truly get to heaven is if you use your logic and reason to come to the best understanding of the universe. What if that's the test?
Yeah, test is, yeah, you correct about God. When you use your logic and rationality, you will come to conclusion there is a creator. And another thing you will come to conclusion morality. God gave you morality within your brain to detect a brain in your brain. So you know right from wrong regardless of how you
But
born.
how does some, okay, yeah, I agree with you, but then like that people have this subjective part of like subjective experience, sorry, they experience morality subjectively, but that's entirely the point. Why do some cultures around the world have different belief systems? Why is
No,
polyamory acceptable in some cultures but not others?
I will tell you first, morality is not subjective. Stealing is wrong. It doesn't matter which religion you belong to. Doesn't matter you are even atheist. You know stealing is wrong. Hurting other people. It doesn't matter which religion you belong to, and you are atheist. You know it is wrong. So morality is
What
not
about what about no? What about owning another person's property?
owning other person property. Stealing.
No,
That's stealing.
owning another person as property. So slavery.
Slavery, that's another topic. Look, I can, I'm gonna give you little because it's big topic. Look, early age, in early
Well,
human,
hang on. I don't need the. Sorry to interrupt. But like, I don't need the explanation. You were just saying that people have this internal experience of morality, and everyone has the same one. So I'm saying, well, how come some cultures disavow slavery and some cultures think it's acceptable?
look, slavery, God does not institute slavery. The human in early years,
We're not talking about God. We're talking about morality.
no,
People's
okay, look, like I say, it's a big topic to explain, but I will tell you this: in Quran, Allah said to free the slave. Okay,
Mhm.
free the slave. So yeah, God said to free the slave. So Islam said God said to free them.
David,
So
also, I just want to tell you, I just want to give you a disclaimer. Saeed is the self-proclaimed smartest Muslim to ever walk the earth, right, Saeed? Can you remind us?
Yes, I am the smart person in the world.
Saeed,
No,
It's
I,
true. It's true.
Saeed,
Saeed says Allah is
I
an
think,
engineer, David. He's sure of that.
Saeed, I think you're either a really fantastic troll, in which love it,
No,
or
no.
you or
Don't say
or
troll.
you're really
I mean,
or you're a really good person in a horrible religion.
when you losing debate,
That's it.
you're gonna call troll or those. That's not good things. That's not good thing.
No, no, I'm not.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
no, no.
We're
I
not even
mean,
having a debate.
saying
I'm just.
troll means you making me down and you looking up. That's not correct thing to do. You talk to me
Saeed.
and
I think it's
No,
no.
no,
We
I'm
really.
serious. No, no.
Sorry,
I was
second across.
compliment.
We really respect. Yeah, you. Sorry,
No,
David. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was complimenting you. Like I thought you're because people in the comments are saying thinking you're a troll. I don't think you're a troll. But even if you are a troll, you're doing a fantastic job. But if you're not a troll, I think you sound like a really nice person who's just caught up in a religion that I don't think is very nice.
No.
This
The
is
God.
this is what causes this is what so like well let me ask you this. Is it permissible in any situation for someone to own someone else as property? It's a yes or no.
Like I said, in Quran, Allah said to free them.
So
So
is it permissible? So it's not permissible. Is that a no? That you are not to own people as property ever.
there was a system of slavery. Okay, so God said to free them.
Okay, so
God does
is
not
that a no?
institute.
Is that a no? I just need a simple yes or no.
Right,
It's not okay.
right now, you don't have to own a slave.
Okay, but was it ever okay to own slaves as property in the eyes of Allah?
Like I said, God does not institute slavery, but
Okay, so
people used to have slave, and God said to free them.
okay, so is it? This is a yes or no. Is it okay?
I gave you both sides of the story. I gave you
Yeah, but
both sides of
I just need a yes or
you.
no.
You should take the slavery in Islam considered to be wrong because it says to free them.
Okay, so was it ever okay for someone to own someone else as property ever?
I
This is a
will
yes
tell
or
you.
no. You can qualify, but you need to give me a yes or no at the
I
start.
wrote okay. I wrote an article about slavery, and I
This
said
doesn't sound like a yes or a no.
I will explain to you because there is something is yes or
Hang
no.
on, Saeed,
It's not an answer.
Saeed.
Let me
Yeah,
let
Saeed, you can answer. I'll let you, but I don't know where you're going, so I don't know how to formulate my brain. Please help me.
okay.
You need to say like yes, and then give an explanation, or no, give an explanation. So is it ever okay to, or was it ever okay to own someone else as property?
There was a time it was okay. There was a time
Okay,
it was
okay,
okay.
cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me
Okay.
let
So
don't let me
I'll let
explain
you.
little
I'll
bit.
let you talk. I'll let you
No,
talk. But my point. I'll let you. I'll let you give your explanation. But my point is, you sound like a really lovely person who's in a really horrible religion.
no, no,
But
no.
keep
Better than
Oh,
Islam. I still say this all the time. I'm like, you're so much better than Islam. And I was trying to
no, no.
tell him, like, I
I,
held on to the same.
I can say same thing. You are a good person, but you just following a devil footstep, which is
yeah.
atheism. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is a waste of you cannot say like that. I can say thing like that, same thing. Let me explain to you. I read an
That's fair.
article about slavery. Slavery was my title was slavery was necessary, necessary because
Oh, yeah.
early human, there was no money. There was no money in the early human age. So people come with the slavery system. People make other people kidnap other people and bring and make them to do their work. This is how labor started in early age hours when there was no money. So this is how slavery started. Then people became a powerful. Then they also continuously this slavery system. Then they invented money. The money then changed the labor system. Then they can get a labor from give money them, and then they get labor. So this is early age human slavery was necessary. Without slavery, we will not be a civilized like today we are. If you look the whole civilization of Roman civilization, the Egyptian civilization, or many other civilizations, they all started from the slave labor. So we are product of those slavery civilization because of slavery, because early stage there was no money. So that's how slavery started. So I read all the detailed things, so I cannot give you over here. This is the thing. God does not institute slavery. People think Bible institutes slavery, all those nonsense, because you have no knowledge. Slavery started when we were early stage of human human being, early stage, when we maybe we were not talking, we were living in the cave. Slavery started at that time.
The thing is, though, you're making a really good example. You're making a really good point about secular society. That yes, there used to be slavery, and that was what we did back then for whatever reason. But what I actually asked you was it okay? And you said yes, it was okay back then. I don't think it
Yes.
was ever okay, and I don't think it was ever okay, even under those circumstances. For example, it's not okay for me to sell my daughter into sex slavery because there's no money. It's not okay for me to kill someone and take their stuff because there's no money and I was going to starve. These are still immoral
Thank you.
actions. But the thing is, though, like, just because, like, isn't the Quran, not the Quran, aren't Muslims or Christians or Jews or any of these people who claim to be inspired and led by God, wouldn't they have a better system? Why can we create a better system today, right, for the poor than Allah or Yahweh could come up with in the Old Testament or in the Hebrew Bible or in the Quran? Why do we have a better system today than like, why did Muhammad have to write down, peace be upon you, like one of the hundreds of times in the Quran, but couldn't mention like 4 words: don't own people, 3 words: don't own people? Why couldn't that be put into the Quran? Like, to me, it just seems like rife for abuse. If this is the perfect, inspired, amazing word of the creator of the universe, that it should be far more complex and cover far more like things that we know to be true today, like don't own people as property, don't sell 6-year-olds into sex slavery with someone who's 55 years old, don't like, misogyny isn't cool. Like, there's
Brother, you don't have any good question. You know, you just making
also you so
random shooting.
yeah, well, yeah, it's really easy to do, unfortunately, because it's just like you're actually defending atrocities at this stage. But my like, what you were saying before is incorrect too. You said that the Hebrew Bible, that that God never instituted slavery. He explicitly does in Exodus 21. He explicitly does in Numbers. I don't know the exact verse. I think it might be chapter 16. But he says, take the slaves from the nations around you. These are direct quotes in the Old Testament. I'm not sure about the Quran because I haven't read, well, I've read the Quran, but I haven't studied it in detail. I'm not sure about any of the hadiths, but it just seems like you're making excuses based on our current subjective morality, and you're not getting that morality from any type of holy text.
Brother, the Quran and the Old Testament, all those are the same God, okay, same God.
I understand that.
Yeah, you see, Bible, Old Testament or New Testament, both are corrupted. The people have added to the text. So they justify their own thing, evil thing. They write it down in their own Bible and say this is from God. Because they have to say, the people, the Old Testament killed the Canaanite. God does not say them to kill them. In
Yes, he
Quran,
does.
no. Well, the
Oh,
corruption
in
they
the Quran. Yeah, sorry, yes.
yeah. You see, God does. See, let me finish this. God does
sorry.
not say to kill Canaanite. God said to go over them and does not say them to kill them. But the Jewish people kill them and then put them to God told us to kill them. That's how it's happened. So it's a corruption. Bible, New Testament, and the Old Testament both are correct. Corruption. So Jesus is not God. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So was the Old Testament, the original Old Testament, written inspired by God, Allah?
Yes.
Okay, but it was corrupted.
Yes, corrupted.
What does the Quran say about the words of Allah? Can they be corrupted?
No. But look. God sent many messengers and sent many books. Okay, and God does not uh, uh, God does not think to preserve them. Listen, God gave message to Adam in thousand of ago. Those messages are lost. So same we have every prophet came and their message lost. So God let them go because he's going to send a new one. So this is what
Can Allah's instructions be corrupted?
if God does not protect them, then it can be corrupted.
Why didn't God protect the instructions from the Old Testament?
Because God does not think, because the people, the only for Jewish people. So the God doesn't think to protect them. They have basic message from God. So the God doesn't
Sorry.
feel.
So I'm just trying to understand. So you're telling me that God did inspire the original scriptures of the Old Testament, but they were corrupted, and they were corrupted because God let them be corrupted. Why did God let them be corrupted?
Because just God doesn't feel to be, to protect them.
Why? That seems like counterintuitive for someone. Like, if God wants to see people in heaven, that seems counterintuitive, right?
No, brother, you misunderstand. The whole thing is people does not go to heaven because of the scripture. Okay, people go
Sure, but
to
if they
heaven.
don't know what to do, like if they don't know how to live their life, and they end up making poor decisions, which end up being sin, they can go to hell, right?
No, you have a morality within you. Okay, you follow those morality.
If we have morality in us, why do we need the Quran?
No, because it's gave you more instruction over there. So that's why it give you detail about existence of God and more all those things. So it gave you more detail.
So
But
are you
basic,
saying that all the moral teachings of the Quran are useless because we already have that in that information inside of ourselves?
no, not we don't have, but we have basic. We women program to basic morality. Not all the detail how to marry, how, all those detail does not give you God. But if you follow the basic morality within you,
Why?
How to marry and divorce is here. Like, can you see this? Quran 65:4. It says, and I'll read it in English, those who no longer expect menstruation amongst your women, if you doubt, then their period of waiting is 3 months. And for those who have not menstruated, meaning little girls like Aisha, so
no,
this
it
is how the
doesn't say
Quran is
that.
telling you how to deal with
No,
marriage and
no.
divorce and iddat, right? And waiting periods.
this is your interpretation.
No,
It
no,
doesn't
this
say
is the Quran.
anything
I have
about
the
it.
source here.
No, no,
Saeed,
no,
he
no, no.
posted the source. This is Quran.com. This is your source, not
Huh?
my
Yeah,
interpretation.
yeah, all this correct, but the
Yeah.
interpretation, it's yours. Interpretation is
So,
yours.
so, so how do you
It
interpret?
doesn't say
How
to
do you
marry
interpret?
6-year-old girl. It doesn't say to marry 6-year-old girl. All that.
How do
If
you
it did,
interpret
would you
those
accept it?
words? Yeah.
No, why would he? God will say to marry 6-year-old girl. Why would
I
he
know you
say?
say no way, but like there are a lot of people who do believe that. So if it did say that, would you accept it? Would you accept
No,
that it's okay to marry a 6-year-old girl?
I'm saying God will not say like that, and you saying if he said it.
Yeah,
I
so it's
mean
a
that's
hypothetical. So it's a thought experiment that it's like
no.
if this was the case.
Look,
Why can't you do a
God
thought
would
experiment?
not
Why do
say
you
like
laugh?
this. God, if you can ask me, God, if tell you to eat, bullshit, would you eat? This is a ridiculous
Well,
question.
yeah, I can answer that question. If God asked me, if God
No, no,
told me
no,
to
no,
eat
no.
bullshit, then I would eat
Look,
bullshit because God. Then I would know that God is real, and then I would know that it was the moral thing to do to eat bullshit. I wouldn't have an option. If God told
no,
me to
no,
eat bullshit, I'd eat bullshit.
no,
Yeah,
no.
that's 100%. Of course.
Look.
Also,
I
Sayyid,
know where you going.
your Allah
I
says
know.
the Quran is a clear book, right? So I don't even need my interpretation. The Quran is a clear book of
In
guidance.
Arabic,
Yeah.
you've got to speak it in an ancient
Oh,
language to.
exactly. Well, like, but yeah, Sayyid, you're not Arab, are you, Sayyid? Do you feel bad that Allah didn't speak to you in your own language? Because I felt bad. Why didn't He speak to me in English or Urdu or any?
No,
Why
no, no.
Arabic?
Uh, you want God to send Quran in every language or just your English?
In my my
How
language.
about no book at all? How about he just revealed himself and told us,
Yes.
hey, these are the rules, this is what we should do? Or how about he gave everyone some strong intuition of like, this is exactly how you need to marry, this is exactly how you need to do these, this is exactly how you need to do everything else? Or why does God even need to create rules for a living organism that he created? Why does he need to even do that?
No. What is your question?
Why does God? I don't know. Why does God even need to create a system of rules when He can just give us the information in our spirits?
He gave you morality
No.
within
Well,
you.
yeah, I know, but why can't He give us more? Why can't He give us explicit morality? Why can't I talk to God right now in audible and I can hear His voice audibly? Why
Look,
can't I? What would be the problem with that?
look, I will tell you. God gave you a basic morality from right from wrong. For example, stealing is wrong. That God gave you that. Hurting one other people is wrong. God gave you that. Lying is wrong. God gave you that. So you see, basic. If you follow this simple basic thing within you, and you believe in God, you go to heaven. You don't need any religion. And
Um,
God also give you knowledge of God existence within your brain.
but like, how do I determine who's telling me the truth? Because I'm talking to you, and then I talk to my Hare Krishna friend who tells me that we're going to be reincarnated if you continue in this life. How do I determine who's true?
Oh, you trust your brain. Your brain will tell you which make the story better. If their story
So
make
okay,
better, you follow them. If you think
so
my story is better, you follow
okay,
me.
so when you read the Mahabharata, what did you think of it?
I did not read Mahabharata, but Hindu people are not going hell as you atheists believe. No, no, they
I
are
don't think they're
not.
going. I don't believe in hell. But hang on, you just said you use your brain. How do you determine that the Quran is different from the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita or the Dhammapada or the any of the other religious texts or the Kesh Temple hymn or the Hebrew when you haven't even read them?
No, I did not read them. I don't need to because
But
Islam
you
make
just said, hang on, you just said you use your brain. How do you, and you said whichever story is better, which there's some problems in that idea as well. But let's say that we were going to do that. How do you determine when you haven't even read the other books?
no, I do not say they are false. You see, they
I'm
have
not
good
saying
teaching.
I'm not saying that you said they're false. I'm
Yeah,
saying how do you determine, like you were saying before, that you determine who has the better story. Well, how do you even know how can you determine that the Quran is the correct story when you haven't even read the religious texts of other religions?
no, I don't have to
Why?
Because I'm satisfied with the Quran.
What if you read the Mahabharata and you were twice as satisfied than you were with the Quran? How do you wouldn't even know?
Yeah, possible, could happen. But I don't feel I need to read Mahabharata or Bible, anything else.
You see, I haven't read the Mahabharata, but I've read the Bhagavad Gita, which is part of it, and that book was profound for me. I found a lot of great wisdom. I found a lot of great wisdom in the Quran as well, and a lot of great wisdom in the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Dhammapada. But it doesn't mean I attach a truth value to them. But
no,
it sounds like, so under your definition, I have done what you've asked. I've looked at all of them, and I've used my brain, and my brain said that these are all men or humanity's first attempt at trying to understand the cosmos under different sociological and cultural paradigms.
Yeah, this could happen to you because that's how you wanted to be an end result. After you study them, you're looking for must be some kind of problem over there, and you're looking for problem, and you find the problems.
No, I wasn't looking for a problem.
Yeah.
At all.
You do not read as an intellectual. You read as a critic, and you find something or the problem over there.
I think your issue is you're not reading the Quran with a critical eye. Your issue is maybe reread the Quran with a critical eye, and you'll see the same problems.
You would be surprised, and I hate to say this, but just like most Muslims, Saeed hasn't read the full Quran.
You haven't read the full?
No.
Have you?
No.
Dude, no. I've read the full Quran. It's
no.
Like 3.
That's not full correct. That's not full correct. I listen to Quran. I listen to Quran in CDs. And many times.
Okay, I listened
but
to
in
the
Arabic,
full Quran.
right? In Arabic, which you don't understand.
I will tell you.
You listen to it in Arabic, but you speak, I'm guessing, Hindi, right?
No. I listen in Urdu. Urdu.
Okay, so
and I will tell you one thing about my experience. I will tell you my experience. If you want to study something, listen to CDs. That is better than reading it.
Say that on my channel. Please don't tell people it's better to listen to CDs than read things.
Yes, because you see, when you read, your brain is on one thing is in reading, another thing is analyzing. But when you listen to it, you only analyzing it.
I actually did listen to the Quran in audible version because it was really, I think maybe that's why I thought it was so nice, because it was really beautifully read, and it was great. I didn't actually read the
I asked Saeed what his favorite surah was, and he said it was Surah Fatiha. So that was nice, Saeed, right? And no, I asked him what's your favorite, and he said all of them. None of them are bad. And I said, but how do you know? Because you haven't heard all of them. Have you heard all of them since last time, Saeed?
No, like I said, I
what if you read one and it was like, what if you read one and, sorry to cut you off, but what if you read one that was like just talking about how hot 6-year-olds are? What would you do then?
What's that?
What if you read one like, and you hadn't heard it before, and it was like talking about how beautiful children are and how hot they are?
Oh, children?
Yeah,
like 6-year-olds, 9-year-olds, yeah.
You see, you're stuck in the 6-year-old. Your brain is stuck. Whenever
I'm not stuck in the 6-year-old. I'm not stuck in the 6-year-old.
Whenever you see,
someone else might have been stuck in the 6-year-old.
Whenever you talk about Islam, you 6-year-old girl into your mind. Oh, he married to 6-year-old. So everything you're looking as a skeptic eye, but you never look into the I want to know what is in this Quran. You do not read like that.
All,
you wanted to find something fault in it. So when you looking for fault, then you will find the thousands of millions of fault.
Okay, see,
well, there shouldn't be faults.
Because David is also like me. Remember I told you last time, like I'm not Muslim anymore, and David is also, he's never been a Muslim. And if you would try and want to save us and you want to bring us to heaven, you were trying to explain to me last time. But can you explain to David why you think Allah is only an engineer, when I told you I don't think he's just an engineer? And also, I'm going to add Zagros. He's of this community. He's the unsung hero of this movement. Hey, Zagros. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? Thank
How are you
you.
doing, sir?
Good, thank you. Meet David,
Thank
meet
you, Said
Saeed.
Bhaiya.
But
कैसे हो?
Yeah, good, good, good. आपको आती है उर्दू?
yeah, English, guys, English on this stream,
No, no,
please.
just
English, yeah.
I'm just asking. Do you speak Urdu?
No, I don't. I was just showing off
Oh,
the
Zagros, you
couple
could
words
fool
that
us
I know.
all. Sometimes I really think you speak Urdu the way you chat in the streams. I'm like, when did Zagros learn? But yeah, okay, so Zagros, feel free to chime in whenever you want. But see, can you please explain to David about your engineer, Allah?
yeah. What is that?
You told me last time Allah is an engineer, right? Can you
Yeah, yeah,
explain to David what you
yeah.
mean?
People think God is a magician. He just do it when like magician do now, like that. But God is not like that. God is an engineer. He have to look wisdom. Allah say He made it this world by wisdom. What does that mean, wisdom? He think about how to create it things. So that's how God work. God is not just a magician, flip of, that's not God. God is not like a magician.
Even though Said, the Quran says, he says kun fayakun be,
Ah,
and it is.
yeah, no, no, no. Yes, that's true. That's true. But God have to plan. Then He command. First He planned it, how to make it, what to make it. He planned everything.
But
You
it
understand?
doesn't say he plans, it says he thinks be, and it is. Like,
Just
boom.
so God, you see, God trying to tell you the way He does things based on be and it is. But He have to plan things. He have to create human. You see, human God must have created as a evolution way, rather than just one Adam and next minute Adam is here. He does not care. God does not say in the Quran He created Adam in a second. But God said He created many stages to him. You understand? So it's the stages God go through, like an engineer go through stages. If an engineer want to create something, he go through many stages. So God also go through many stages. So that's why I call God an engineer, not a magician.
I have a question if you don't have anything to
Yes,
say.
sir.
So, by the way, said, are you like aware that at least to our knowledge that there are more than 3,000 active religions still on the face of Earth?
Yeah, yeah, probably there must be or more.
Okay. So I have a thought experiment for you. So imagine you bought a house or you are renting a house and you are living there.
No, no, I used to have a house, but I'm now homeless. With
Well,
my,
Oh, I'm
I'm
yeah,
horrid
sorry.
sorry to hear that.
yeah, I live with my sister now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I hope things go well for you, man.
Yeah.
Whatever happened. But yeah, just a thought experiment. Let's say you have a house and I come one day, I knock your door. You don't know me, I don't know you. But I tell you, Mr. Said, like I know there is gold underneath your house. If we start digging under your living room, we can find the gold. And you say, or maybe you might want to say, well, like, I don't have any evidence that there is gold besides you telling me that there is gold. Um, I'm not sure that I can, allow you, a total stranger, without evidence, to dig in my house. And imagine it's not just one guy, but 3,000 guys knocking your door, all of whom want to dig one corner of your house. Like, so basically, what I'm trying to get at, you are trying to maybe convince me or others or Nuria of the truth of Islam, the validity of its claims. Would you be able to give us some kind of evidence or multiple, sets of evidences that would, make us believe that yes, Islam is true among all these 3,000 religions without a grain of doubt? Like, is there any such thing that you can show us or tell us, to convince us that we should allow you to come and dig in our house, that there is gold to be found if we were to,
You cut off.
go at it together.
Okay. That's your question?
Can you?
Yeah, you
Were
break
you
up a
able
little bit.
to
I think
hear like what I said?
I could hear everything. Yeah.
So Sid,
So that's
what do you think about this?
you're looking for evidence, right?
Hanji.
For God existent or Islam is true religion, that kind of evidence.
Yeah, like evidence that would, like irrefutable evidence that would convince anyone of the truth of Islam and the existence of Allah.
Yeah, okay. Brother, I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. You see, God sent even Prophet Muhammad to convince people. He wasn't able to convince them, and they tried to kill him. You see, it's not a miracle I have to tell you, give you some evidence, and you just became a believer. You need to study yourself. You need to study Quran with, without bias, without any. Just try to understand. Read Quran. Try to understand
But
what he
see, Said,
believes.
I'm gonna cut you off because, see, if we were to go again in that photo experiment, now you came to my door, you told me there's gold underneath my house. We have to dig my living room to find the gold. I say, well, like you need to give me evidence. And you are telling me, well, you have to study yourself. So all of a sudden, I was going by, living my life. And you came to my door and you are asking me to do research, like go find documents, ancient, pirate maps that would lead to like a treasure underneath my house. Like, why would I have to give up my time all of a sudden to try and find some truth that you claim is in the Quran that I will find if I should I study it? If I study it, like why can't you give me the evidence?
And just to jump on that a little bit, why is there any ambiguity at all? There should be no ambiguity with such an important question, the most important question that the creator of the universe wants to impart down to his creation. Why is there any ambiguity? Why do the tribes in the Amazon and will never hear the words of Allah ever? Why is that the case? Why is there any ambiguity for even one person on this entire planet? Why can't we all have the perfect example of like God and just know that he's there, know his instructions? Why can't we have that?
Let me tell you, brother, first of all, Allah, God is the same thing. Allah is not separate from God or Bhagwan or Yadus. This is the same thing. It's just a word. People have different words for God. So Arabic is Allah. So don't confuse what the Christian God, Muslim God, Jew God.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
They all are one same God. Okay, we call different because those came different time. So people call them God different name. So this is the something. Look, people, why human being believe in God? That's the question you should be asking. Why people human believe in God? You see, human being don't have answer. Where do we come from? Of course, you atheists have answer, but I'm talking about general human
So
being, the
atheists not
majority of them.
human beings?
No,
Yeah,
no,
and
no. You
atheists
are
don't have that answer.
look.
Atheists don't have that answer, by the way.
No, but you see,
Am I not a
I'm
human
talking
being?
about
Is David not a human being?
I'm talking about the majority of human being. They come to conclusion there has to be a creator. That's how we came to this earth. So
No. You're right. You're right. Even David and Isaac, we don't know exactly how the universe was created. We follow the evidence. We go with the majority opinion, okay? Nobody can ever know the exact moment of the initiation of like the entire earth. We put it back down to the Big Bang, but then we say what was before that. It's very difficult. But we just follow the evidence. We know for a fact that it cannot be made by somebody who wants to roast your skin every day in hell, which you also say is very, very scary. So why do you still care for a God who scares you this much? Do you think that's fair for you to be this scared?
look, you do not have any answer. You make up answers for your life, like
We don't.
evolution,
No,
all this.
we're explicitly saying we don't have answers. We're
Yeah,
explicitly
yeah.
saying like,
You don't have how life is started. Even atheists don't know how life is started.
yeah, but we can't just make up what we think feels good. Like we can't just go
And
like,
also
well, we don't have
say
an answer, so therefore,
we can say it's
holla.
okay if we don't know. Some things we're still figuring it out. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's answer those questions and let's follow. Do we have to say only the Quran can be perfect?
No, no. The human come up with God is because we do not have an answer for the who created us, and
God of
plus
the gap.
the benefit of religion. That's what make human to believe in religion. For instance, poor people they have nothing but hope. So religion, God gave
It's
them
the
hope.
opium of the masses. Yeah.
Like, look, you people have enough to eat food, enough car, to place to live. But if you were poor, you needed God. You won't be atheist like this
Sayed,
because you
but I have
have
a question.
everything.
Sayed, if like now you just told me you're homeless, okay? Now my heart is really breaking. You're saying, I'm like thinking, what would you do in this situation? What would I do? Would you just listen to your Quran cassette and hope that Allah will make it better? Or will you, because if you think there might not be Allah, you need to act yourself and do something for yourself? Will you try and find a job or get a better situation? Or would you just say, oh, if I don't have anything, then I'll just, at least I have Allah to rely on. The reason a lot of us don't have Allah to rely on is because we got off our bum and did something about our situation, or we said, what does our Allah actually say? So when I saw the hell that you saw, I said, wow, this Allah is definitely not Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, because he cannot say he is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and then also promise to torture me forever, which you also said is very, very scary. You like Surah Fatiha. I like Surah Fatiha. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very just scientifically inaccurate, but hey, that's not an issue right now. But yeah, so why not? Why, if you're telling poor people have God to rely on, that's not a good thing. It gives them hope, but does it improve their life?
No, no. Look, they don't have anything. Even if they follow, if they were atheists, poor people, the in poverty people are going through. Even if they become atheists, they have nothing then. They will be stay as a homeless and they have no hope either. So
No,
what they're gonna do? They will kill themselves. You see,
well,
you
no,
can enjoy
hang
life.
on. Hang on. I disagree with that they will kill themselves, because like I found that when I left my religion, I actually had a much stronger desire to make this life as much as make my living situation in life so much better, because I realized this is the only life that we likely have. But secondly, in regards to hope, I agree with you actually. I think that people use religion, and religion gives people a lot of hope, and happiness in their lives, but I just don't think that relates to it being true at all.
Brother, listen. The hope make poor people to go on with their life. If they lost the hope, which
No,
is
I think,
God. No, 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 no. This is true. The poor
yeah,
people.
it is true, but it also gets them to pray instead of going out and trying to find a job, or going out and trying to be part of society. They're spending their time praying, or
Instead
spending
of
their time at
learning
church,
things, instead of earning money,
yeah.
instead of researching, instead of building, instead of learning new skills,
But
instead of improving their
I,
family's
I
life.
I don't know, and I don't mean to cast shade on you or your situation or anything, because being homeless is horrible. I really feel for you. It's hard. I'm so sorry that you're going through that. But like when I don't know what it's like for Islam, but when I left Christianity, and I saw that most of my family were using, and friends were using, this life as a doormat to wipe their feet on as they moved on to the afterlife. I have family who have said, it's okay, we'll see our loved ones again when we die, or I'm not getting vaccines because if I die then I'll go to heaven, and I'm not gonna, they don't live their life now because they're waiting for this next life, this afterlife, this real life. They treat this life as a doormat that you wipe your feet on. When I've noticed with a few friends that when they start questioning their faith, all of a sudden they go, okay, well, if this truly is all we've got, I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to start socializing with friends. I'm going to take this life for every drop that it can give me because it's all that I have.
I really want like Seth to answer this thing, because when I asked him what evidence you have to provide, Seth, you had to show us. You said it's not how this works. You said to me, right, that I had to study it and see for myself. But I told you, Seth, we can think of it as if there were 3,000 people like you telling me the same thing about their religions, because that's how many religions that we know of. All of them make a different claim. How the universe came to exist, how humans came to exist, how mountains came to exist, the sun, the moon. They all say different things. Who am I to believe? I don't know. You told me that you cannot give me evidence. I have to study it. So why would I stop my life and start studying your religion while there are 2,999 other people telling me exactly the same thing? So why would I trust you and study your religion and not the 3,000 others?
Let me tell you, brother. You see, some people want to find God. Okay, they want to find God and they find God, and some people don't want to find God and they find no God. That's the basic way human nature go by that. You were looking for not to find God and you find no God. And
Yeah, but
people who
Sayyid, God says in the Quran and the Hadith that, Allah guides who He wills and misguides who He wills. So technically, right now, I left Islam. It's not my fault. Allah could have guided me. So why didn't He? And now I'm going to end up in hell. And remember last time I asked you, how would you feel if I was in hell? That's not nice, right? Like, we're friends here, we talk. And you wouldn't want me to have my skin roasted over and over again and you be reclining on a sofa in Jannat watching me and laughing, which is what your Allah says will happen.
ma'am, first of all, you misunderstood the verses. God does not misguide anyone. Okay, God
But
does
He
not
misguided
misguide.
me. I was Muslim.
No,
What
no, no,
happened to
no,
me?
no. He let you go. He let you go.
So
You see,
he let me go into His hellfire. But I
no,
don't
no,
want. I
because you does not wanted to be guided by.
It was the
I
jinns,
want.
Nuria. It was the
Uh,
jinns.
you see
Sayyid, I
you.
wanted to be so guided. I read your Quran more than you. I read it from front to cover in my own language. I read it in both my languages, English, Urdu, maybe some Arabic, maybe some French. I read it just to try and stay in it, like you. But then I thought, no, this is actually an evil, evil entity. He already said most women will be in hell. Do you have a wife, Sayyid? Do
No,
you have
no, no,
kids?
no. God doesn't say that. God
He
doesn't say
does.
that. No, no, no.
What
Muhammad says
translation
that.
does
Oh, okay,
Syed read?
okay. Let me tell you about the.
I feel like the
Just
problem is because we make some claims and Syed said, that's not true. That's not what he says. I feel like there's like a discrepancy between the translations that we are reading. Like, Syed,
yeah.
what translation are you reading? And what, for example, is your translation saying with regards to Surah Talaq 65:4? So, for example, tell us what yours says, and we'll tell you what our translations say, and then we'll see, if there is an agreement between the translations or not. If there's a disagreement, who is right, who is wrong. So, can you tell us like what translation you read and
Oh
what, for
no.
example, your translation says about 65:4?
Oh, look, brother. I do not trust any translation. I have to read all of them to find the right meaning of those translation. I
But you
cannot
haven't even
give
read
you.
the whole.
I cannot give you. I read. I do read. It's not like I don't read. I do read. So I don't take anybody translation, but I have to check all of them. Then I will get the correct. What's the possible correct answer? That's how I take that. Even
How do
that.
you decide which one is the correct? Can you tell us?
Oh, I have to
What is your
analyze.
methodology to
Yeah, yeah.
determine this translation is likely here to be correct with respect to this one, and this one seems less likely to be correct with respect to, like, how do you do this? Because that's what you said, right? You're gonna compare the translations and find which one is likely to be correct. So how do you do that? Tell us.
Yes. I read all of them, and then I pick which one is the possible way to get one. That's how I do. I don't
Okay,
pick
but
up.
how do you do that? Like, what's the process behind your selection? How do you choose which one are likely to be correct? Like, what do you think? What's your method? How do you determine, okay, this sounds better than this one? How do you do that, Said?
Yeah, I have to read the whole concept of Islam. I have to understand. Basis on that, I pick the correct trans. It's hard to explain how to pick a one. So I have to see which make more sense. So that's how I go by that.
According to whose sense? Your sense?
More
Yes,
sense
my sense.
And if it's your
what,
sense,
like,
like, who are you? Are you a prophet of Allah subhanahu
No,
wa
no, no,
ta'ala?
no. No, I'm an individual and I don't enforce my understanding on other. I only give
No,
people,
how do
this
you
is my
convince
understanding.
yourself? How are you getting convinced? Like, I don't care that you don't try to convince anyone. How are you, Said, convinced of the validity of one translation compared to other? Because what you say is that you will read all of them, you will understand the context, and you will decide which one is more likely to be correct. But that's not really a method. Like, I still don't see how exactly you are choosing, according to what criteria.
It's exactly what I would do when I was a Muslim, which is why I completely know where his head's at, because you're burying your head in the sand, right? Like, this is a completely your own version of Islam. Everyone in my family has it. And basically what you do is you read the Quran and then you're like, oh crap. And then you go and read other translations and you're like, this is the least evil sounding. This one
And that's
sounds a
what
bit
I'm
better.
trying to get at.
This I can maybe defend.
Like,
But
I want Said to realize that it's his own, like, morality, his own moral intuitions from his own neural proclivities, from his own genome and his own natural environment, and everything that made him that makes him like one translation over another. Because you are not able to give me like an objective methodology as to how you pick the better translation, Said.
that's why I say he's better than Islam. Like, he comes on here, he was like, I the first thing Sayyid ever said to me was, Allah bless your channel. And I was like, hey, that's a bit strange, but I was like, sure, I'll take it. And he's like, yeah, no, those mullahs have corrupted Islam, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, but yeah, Sayyid, you're saying that because you are better than Islam. You're not agreed to Aisha's age. You won't agree to sex. You're so close to like what you is very similar to what we think is good and bad. The only difference is we don't think that the Quran is perfect, and that's the only choice of ideas we have. We think there's other ideas you can also explore. That's it. If you think that the Quranic hell is scary, maybe your feeling is correct. Maybe it is scary because you know what? The descriptions in the Quran are scary. Ask David, ask Zagros, ask anyone who's not Muslim and who's read the Quran. They're also a bit like, whoa, this God is really like, he jumps from telling a story to being like, you're going to burn in hell, disbelievers. It's really intense.
Just quickly, I need to. I really want to say this. You were mentioning all the different gods before, and I did this video called "I said the name of every single god," and so like it took me 4.5 hours, and I just read out the name of every single god, and riveting. Yeah, but I put a link to it before, but if everyone wants to go there and just skip to a random timestamp, and whatever you land on, that's your god, okay? And that's your new god, and then at least some of us. Then at least some of us can get to heaven, right? At least some of us can get to the correct afterlife.
That's better than Pascal's wager, David. I'd put more money on that. Oh my gosh. So, Sayyid, how do you feel about this? You can hear all of the gods that were ever mentioned that David says.
Well, it's actually not. It's actually only like 4.5 hours, but apparently I thought it was all, but there's way more than that, apparently.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Sayyid, Allah is one in like how much of a chance, David? Give us a number.
Well, I think it's like 3,000. Yeah, like you were saying before,
Allah
3,000.
is 1 in 3,000, Sayyid. If I
and
send
it's
you
not
this
even
video,
how it works. We can keep making gods, like we can make it 1 in a billion,
And this is only
True.
since recorded history. Like recorded history is like what 10,000
Uh,
years. Humanity's been around for over 200,000 years. Like it's like we've been around for a long time.
True, but
let me
guys, to be fair,
explain.
Allah has a bit of a lead because Allah has 99 names, and so does Muhammad. So they kind of have a head start.
99 problems, but being real isn't one.
Let-
Yeah.
yeah, this is the
Sorry, Saeed,
atheist
go ahead. Go
favorite.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is atheist favorite to say there are more gods, and we believer believe there is only one God. Regardless, even Hinduism say there is only one God. They don't say there are million God. They will tell you there are million. There is one God. He incarnate in million of things. Like Christian believe in one God. They don't believe in three God, but they describe their God into three type of But we all believe
No, there's a whole. Do you
there
know
is
what
all.
polytheism? Do you know what polytheism is?
Yeah.
Well, so what is that?
The idol worshipper, the Hindus like Hindus.
No, it's not idol worship. It's the idea of you. So you're talking about monotheism, which is the idea of one God. But there are many religions. Like if you there's a Celtic Ocean, I think his name is called Ocean Kelto. He worships the Norse gods and the pagan gods and the heathen gods. He worships more than one god. There's all these religions don't just all have one god.
Let me explain to you about God so you can understand
Okay,
better.
Saeed, I just want to say, just before you start, this is our final 5 minutes, yeah? David has to leave, and I've got to go to bed, and it's probably late where Zagros is. But Saeed, so let's wrap up. Give us your final thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up in 5 minutes.
I'll
So
leave you
David
guys,
can't
by
make
the
the
way.
work.
Okay.
Okay, thank
See
you,
you,
Zagros,
Zagros.
so much. Coming, bye.
Noria, I will give you read Quran, read again, but don't read Quran as a critic. Don't try to find insight. Just try to find how we understand.
Hang on,
Okay,
let me write this down. So read Quran,
not
assume
as
it's
a
all
critic.
true. Yeah,
No,
assume it's all true. Wait, what?
no. Don't go that. Don't go that. Don't
So how do I
read. Don't look. Go read Quran not as a
read
critic.
Quran? Not as
Not
a
as a
critic. So
critic.
is that assuming it's all true?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Try to understand what it's saying. Try to
Okay.
understand what it's trying
Try
to
to understand
say,
this thing.
and
Okay,
that's
but
it.
not as a critic.
Not as a critic. If you
So you
become
just
a
assume it's
critic,
true?
what?
Do
David,
you
you're gonna
assume it's
make me
true?
spit my wine now. I nearly choked. Okay, right. Go on. Now you can ask.
Sorry, Seed. I'm just mucking around. Like I'm not. I don't mean to cast any shit on you. You sound like a really nice person. I'm not trying to.
Okay. Thank you, David, and thank you, Nuria. I appreciate. I think
Thank
I
you.
want. Yeah, I want you to. We discuss debate on Islam Quran. Whatever ayat you don't like it or something like that, we will debate about it. Okay.
Okay.
Saeed, I've got homework for you as well. I want you to read your holy book
Okay.
Yes.
from cover to cover. Just read it. Read at least then you can say I've read my holy text. I know what it
Saeed,
says.
that's what I asked you to do last time. Remember, I said, can you promise me instead of the cassettes of Fatiha, you would listen to my videos? And you said, yeah, I will.
Yes, ma'am. I do read every day, everything. I do read. I talk to people.
Do
It's
you
not
listen
like
to my videos about the Quran? The problem with Omar bought 3 ayats into the Quran, not Muhammad. I have a video. Can you watch that instead of listening to the cassettes?
yeah. I can watch. I do not get your video about that.
Okay, so turn your notifications on, okay? And send me an email at Holy Humanist. I'll send you my real issues with the Quran, okay? You'll see how even Umar came into, you know Umar bin Khattab?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came into the Quran. I'll show you, yeah?
Okay.
And then
So,
we can
Saeed,
yeah.
I have a question, and I'll answer the same question for the next time we chat or whatever. What would convince you that Allah does not exist? And I will think about what would convince me that Allah did exist.
Okay.
And I'll seriously consider that.
Yeah. Me too. Okay. If there is no God, I don't have to make thing up. Even if God doesn't exist, but in my mind, he exists, so then I have to keep that way. Okay, so let me tell you, the life on earth, if you come up the answer, the life on earth, how life on earth came about, then I will give up on God.
Oh, really? Well,
Yes.
we've already got some hypothesis, like the RNA world
No, no, no,
hypothesis.
no, 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 no. You have to have answer how it came about. It's not just in theory, but practically you have to show this is how
We,
life came about.
we've shown how it can happen through the RNA world hypothesis. So
That's
we've
your imagination. That's your
no, it's not
imagination.
imagination.
I
We've
know all
tested
of
it.
that. I know
We've
all
tested
of
it
that.
in the lab. We've tested it in lab settings.
Yeah,
We just
even
don't know if that's
I,
exactly how it happened.
yeah, brother. Even scientists said they don't have answer for how the life came
Yeah,
out.
yeah, no,
So
but
yes,
but
so
it's a working hypothesis, meaning that it could have happened that way. It's not likely that it did, but it could have happened that way.
could all those things happen, but we don't know right now. When
But
we
how would
have
you ever
answer,
know? But how would you ever know? Like you said, you just needed to look. It's all good. We're going to get into another
yeah,
for
Yeah,
next
yeah,
we're
yeah,
time.
almost gonna
yeah,
wrap it up, but this is amazing. So I don't think Sayed's gonna be convinced until he has like 100% proof,
yeah, yeah.
which
Yeah.
is clearly
Just
right
just
now.
like you need 100% proof of God, I need 100% proof of how came about
I don't
on
need
earth.
I don't need 100% proof. I just need any evidence at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, you don't have
Like sufficient
either.
reason.
I don't have either to prove.
We just need the as and way more proof than what any of your religious books can give,
Hmm.
which
No,
makes a lot more sense.
Sufficient evidence.
that's what you wanted to be.
The wise man,
No,
David
Sayed,
Hume, the wise man proportions his beliefs to the evidence.
No, we do have evidence. We do have.
okay.
I know you have
Okay,
evidence,
Sayed,
but it's
I
just not
thank you
sufficient.
so much for joining though, Sayed. And I just want to say last thing, I please, my like because I really do like enjoy talking to you and I really like you as a person. And I think you are, I will always say this, I think you're better than Islam and better than Allah. So that's why we're able to talk like this. But please don't rely on Allah to like help you in your situation. Like you as an individual are a very strong person. You have a brain, you have skills, you have talent. So don't just like pray and hope that Allah will make your situation better. Please try and make it better yourself. If that's one thing you learn from atheists today, it's just even if you're praying to your Allah, also do something for yourself. Because even in the Quran, Allah says, if you don't help yourself, I won't help you, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so please do that if you can, yeah?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate your advice.
No,
Thanks,
thank
Saeed.
you. And
Sorry
you're
if
welcome
I
here anytime.
got frustrated or seemed
Oh, no problem, brother. No
rude.
problem. No problem.
Okay, take care, Said. Speak soon, okay?
I will subscribe to your channel, David, brother David. I will
Oh, thank
subscribe to
you.
your channel.
Yay! I just checked before and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gone on
Give me the link.
subscribers.
Send us the link because if you give the link, we can.
It's it's youtube.com/deep drinks. But I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, Saeed, and I'll put it in the description of this video. But Saeed, this is good. See, like if we talk and have conversations now when I'm not live and you see David live, you can speak to him there, and like your community is growing. So this is beautiful, right?
Mm.
Oh yes, I go to everywhere. I go to
Yeah.
18 hour. I'm on computer 18 hour every day. I'm
Yeah.
60. I'm 64-year old and I'm
Yeah.
retired. So I'm here.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love that you go onto all these channels and you're willing to have conversations. You know what, Saeed? The reason I like you so much, is I just, I don't know why, but I think it's because you don't want to cut my neck off right now, or you talk to me and you respect my channel, you support it. I don't know why, but I know it's because you have a different Islam to the mullahs. So on that, we can agree
No,
that
no,
you
yeah,
at least want me to be alive, right?
yeah,
You don't want
yeah,
me to be
yes,
dead.
yes. Listen, ma'am. You see, we need to discuss, debate. We need to talk. If we
True.
talk, this world will be better place rather than condemning other and that's not good. We need to debate and talk. Whatever is right, true is true. If atheist is true, then let be that way. If his religion is true, then that let be that way. So we have to debate
Yeah.
and talk, discuss. Even our enemy or whatever friends, everybody, we have to be good to everyone.
Thank you, Said, for having that attitude, because there's even some people here in the UK that won't want to kill me. They won't speak to me the way you are.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's not good.
yeah,
That's not good. That's why we need to
people.
discuss. That's why we need to. That's why I support you, because you are challenging Muslim to look at uh, their own religion and think about it. And that's why I support you. That's the reason, my main reason to support you. That's the
And
reason.
literally say it hand on heart, right back at the exact reason I support you back and I want to take you on and I want to speak to you is because you are also better than those mullahs. Those
Yeah.
mullahs that
Mm.
call for my death, you are far better. Like, sometimes we even laugh. We both think hell is so bad. We laugh, we have a joke, and then we like talk about serious things, but it's all friendly. I respect you, you respect me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Said.
you. Thank you, sir. Well, I do not get the link. Your link. Give the link.
Yeah, I put it in there, but it didn't come up. But so many people are linking to both my channels in the comments. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I feel honored that you do that. That's very nice.
Thank you, YouTube fam. You are the best. Sayed, you'll
Your
find
chat rocks. Like your chat is so cool.
I'm
All
so
right, sir.
proud of my YouTube fam. Honestly, I can't believe that people compliment. Like, this is amazing.
Mm.
A reflection of the kind of conversations I have, the people I bring on, the personality that's reflected. But yeah, I love it. I love the realness. I love the level of intellectualism here. I love the lack of trolling. Everything is just so respectful and fun, and the banter is real. The jokes, the amount of times I have to like try and keep a poker face. But yeah. Sayed, sorry, I will let you go. Yeah, thank you so much. Take care of
Yes. Thank you,
yourself.
ma'am. Bye bye. All right. Bye
Bye.
bye, ma'am.
Please subscribe to David's channels.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye. David, we'll wrap this up now. Sorry, we're 6 minutes over.
No, that's okay.
Thank you everyone for being here. Norse Mythology sent a super chat as well there at the end. Thank you, Norse, and thank you for
Thank
being
you.
such a lively participant in the chat and just being part of the bants and everyone cracking up and giving their points and creasing when David does a face palm or he's killing it.
Sorry, there were parts of that where like I've just heard it so much. I've got to get better, but like I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. Thank you,
no,
Tanky. That's so
exactly.
nice.
I totally
I'll make
get
sure
that.
to try and remember your name. So if you do pop up, I'll make sure to comment and call you out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, Chishti Rana's always supporting. You're always also at Sunday Scoop, and I know you had a heart attack thinking I was resigning from that this weekend. So I'm sorry. That was not intended at all. But yeah, thank you so
Thanks.
much, everyone. John saying we mods do our best to create a great place for honest discourse. And you know what? Touche, you're doing such a fab job. David's not the first person. Derek said the same thing to me. A couple of other people have said, Lloyd has said the same thing live on air to all of you. And he's Christian, bear in mind. And even today, Somalin Christian TV came on. So I like this. Like, I want to create that like inclusive atmosphere. Like, of course, we will scrutinize your ideologies and we'll challenge it, but we're not going to go down into ad hominems and get confrontational and be weird. If anything, we'll have a laugh at the expense of it. That's like the worst that can happen, at least on my channel. But yeah, thank you to my mods. And David, I really appreciate you sticking around for the impromptu chat and just, allowing
I loved
entertainment
it. It was
value of
good.
the stream to go on. Yeah.
It was good. I'm gonna send you an email shortly after this, or I'll send you a tweet. What's better, Twitter or DMs or email? What's better?
Email's probably better. Or
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
that would probably be better. But yeah, no, David, thank you. Any closing remarks, and then I'll let everyone head out.
No, thank you for giving me the space to share my story. I saw someone. We got three more likes until we get to 100, guys. Let's try and push it over this stream to 100. I'm sure people here aren't even subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to Nuria as well. You're doing amazing stuff. Very honored to be here, and it's great to meet all you guys. And I'm definitely keen to stay in touch and keep making content together. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on and letting me share my story. And yeah.
Yeah, and you're welcome back anytime. You know, I'm always down for like a round and a deep chat. This is what I live for, these kind of subjects. So keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, and please, everyone, let's get David to 1,000 by the time he comes home from work. Remember, let's just like make his day. Come on, let's do it. I will push for it. Share, like, subscribe, as far and wide as you can. Not as far as wide as our entire family finds out, because we're both kind of still in hiding. But here we are, laying it all bare and deep to the entire world whilst drinking and getting very, you know, TMI
in
and
Mecca. In Mecca, yeah.
In Mecca, you know.
I apologize for the for so much inappropriate chat in this conversation as well.
No, not at
too
all.
much
This is
TMI.
what we are. David, this is the beauty of leaving religion and being an adult and being like, I can look you in the eye and we can discuss like masturbation or sex or heaven or hell or whatever and not get weird about it. All of this can unlearn all of this. I used to think like females, like, you know, we couldn't enjoy sex, women shouldn't talk about having orgasms or not, or pleasure, and sex toys are like the work of the devil, you know, like, nah, you're missing out if you've not entered this world. What is wrong with you now? Like, so yeah, of course, this is a safe space for all of that, and we want to break this generational trauma, religion, culture, dogma, taboos, all of this shame, modesty culture, purity, fuck it all. But yeah, you get the gist.
Exactly.
But yeah,
John Stockman subscribe, Fabian Schultz subscribe, Doorknob Head subscribe. They're the ones that are popping up. Thanks, guys.
Amazing.
I really appreciate
Thank you, YouTube fam. I really appreciate that. Shish Sirana, thank you so much for subscribing. Faharish Ahmed, please go subscribe. Norse Mythology already has. One more away from 100, guys. And yeah, this is a powerful conversation. Let's get it to, you know, go far and wide. Let's get David back on again. Let's give him an incentive to come back. But yeah,
I'll come on for sure.
No, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, David. It was an absolute pleasure getting to know you and your story. And I don't want to do a long goodbye because we're going to see you here real soon and we're going to go into some other very cool topics, I feel. So yeah.
Cool.
All right. Peace out, everybody. Thank you, David. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. See you, everyone.
Bye.